Very good morning to you. Yes, we're the Newsroom team. We'll be with you for the next 3 hours. And today we've got a different focus. Although there's a lot of news stories and a lot happening in Parliament today as well.
A lot happening in our Parliament. IPID is in Parliament, SASA is in Parliament, a lot's happening. And we're also going to bring you an update on what's happening in Cape Town at the Utilities Week.
Yeah, we're expecting Prime Molefe to open the African Utilities Week in Cape Town around 9:30, 9:40 this morning. We'll cross there shortly to get an update as to what is happening there. But Elvis, we're focusing on keeping children safe, and that's our question today. Because the Blue Whale game, a suicide game.
A suicide game online that people can get on, especially children, and they coerce to participate in this particular game. And we're asking you, perhaps are you aware of this type of games that's being played online? And that's why we have this question for you. How do you keep your children safe from online threats?
Yeah, more than 100 children worldwide have killed themselves at the effect of this game. So it's serious. It's now here in South Africa. Kenya's already banned it. We go on, Elvis, because it leads to suicide, and we have to talk to suicide. And the numbers should scare us, shouldn't
The
it?
numbers are shocking. One person every hour here in South Africa killed himself, and we're asking that question. A South African commits suicide every hour. Are you shocked?
Our poll says 155 of you have voted. So 50-50. 49% say yes, we are shocked. The more concerning number is the 51% say no, I'm not shocked. Maybe more people should be killing themselves every hour here in South Africa.
Now Sichaba says, sure, I'm shocked. Every hour.
Yes, 22, more than 22 a day, 8,000 every year. Alex tweets us, he says, this is everyday life. I lost a friend due to suicide, and I know it's possible and practical from different factors. Thank you for that, Alex.
This one from Siafana says, I'm not shocked. Now, because it happens each and every day. Even now, I think there's someone trying to kill himself.
That one from Siafana. Nesha tweets us, says, our government forces us to commit suicide by robbing us. Nesha, are you kidding me? Government can't be forcing you to commit suicide. There's much deeper things like that. How can one live like a beggar all their life, says Nisha. Government's being blamed for suicides. That's tough.
Sapiwe says, sure. It's hard to say yes, but it's true.
Well, those are your tweets. Keep tweeting us. Also, don't forget our question of the day. Also, how do we keep our children safe? Because this Blue Whale game, well, we'll talk about that in our show today. But Elvis, we've got a lot happening in this first hour, especially. We'll get into it.
Let's get down to business. The acting National Police Commissioner, Khomotso Patlani, and the IPID head, Robert McBride, are expected to face tough questions when they appear before Parliament's Portfolio Committee this morning. That's the Police Committee, of course. SASA is expected to explain their latest contract with cash paymasters to the Standing Committee on Public Accounts this morning. And as we mentioned earlier, the Eskom CEO, Prime Molefe, will deliver the host utility welcome address at the opening session of the African Utility Week conference and expo this morning after his controversial electrifying reappointment to Eskom. Those are the headlines. And before we get to the news, let's find out from Kendall Maghamate what's happening on the sports front.
Gentlemen, lots to talk about on the sports front, but before I get to that, this it's a truism, but the fact that the figures are so high on our suicide rate, absolutely scary and
Scary
symptomatic.
numbers. You know, the reality is, Kendall, we're all struggling.
Yeah.
Everyone out there is struggling.
It's got something.
The problem is sometimes we don't find a way out.
Yeah, and it's symptomatic of something much bigger and deeper than
in our society.
than what we see.
Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely.
It's probably because we haven't got good sports news from Bafana, or do we?
Well, let me see if I can cheer you up a little bit, because we do have a coach. That's definitely good news. A lot of people are waiting to see who our coach is going to be, and this is what we've got for you in the sports today. The newly appointed Bafana coach, Stuart Baxter, has got big dreams for the men's senior national team.
I think that this could be the powerhouse of Africa and continue to do well in world football.
And South African sprint sensation Akani Simbini plans to spoil Usain Bolt's last race in Jamaica come next month.
He'll be running his final race in Jamaica, so that's going to be a pretty historic race, and I'm hoping to do well there as well.
Two-time Formula One champion Fernando Alonso continues his build-up to the Indy 500 as he starts his two-week crash course in IndyCar racing. Now, all this and more I've got for you later on the Sports Bulletin around about 10:40 or so. For now, it's back to Elvis.
Thank you, Kendall. Now, from Formula One to India, I'm not too sure if that's a demotion, perhaps, but Kendall will tell us a little bit later more about that. Top story this hour. Acting Police Commissioner Komotso Paslani and the IPID head Robert McBride will appear before Parliament's Police Portfolio Committee this morning. The two men will brief the committee on claims by the Independent Police Investigative Directorate, IPID, that police are interfering in investigations into top police officers. In a committee meeting last week, McBride complained that the more senior officers are involved, the more difficult their investigations are made. He told MPs that Paslani is waging a war against his directorate. McBride also expressed discontent with the large litigation budget available to the SAPS as opposed to what IPID has to its disposal. The 17th annual African Utility Week Power and Energy Conference kicks off in Cape Town this morning and will end on Thursday. The event will bring together over 7,000 energy and water experts from 80 countries to discuss issues of mutual concern. Now, they will address the latest challenges, developments and the opportunities in the power and water sectors. Various expert speakers will also take part in multiple side events. Conference organizer says that Brian Molefe's appearance, the Eskom CEO, will be one of his first major public appearances since returning to his job. Molefe resigned as the Eskom CEO last year after the former public protector Thuli Madonsela's state capture report named him for making contact with the Gupta family over Eskom tenders. He was then appointed as the ANC Member of Parliament. SABC's Vanessa Puna now joins us from the conference that's there. Very good morning to you, Vanessa. Can you tell us what is happening there this morning and paint us a picture?
Yes, a very good morning to you here from the 17th Annual African Utility Week taking place at the Cape Town International Convention Centre. Just behind me, the stage seems to be set for 3 days of discussions around energy as well as water issues affecting not only South Africa but also countries across the African continent. We do know that about 7,000 decision makers in these fields will be gathering here with over 300 expert speakers expected to address the conference over the next 3 days. There'll also be about 200 or so exhibitors taking their spot at the exhibition hall just a short way away from here, with the latest trends and developments in both the energy as well as water sectors. The program is expected to start at about 9:30 in just 20 minutes or so, and we do know that the newly reappointed CEO of Eskom, Mr. Brian Molefe, is expected to welcome the delegates to the 17th Annual African Utility Week Conference.
How will South Africa benefit from this particular event?
Yes, I think what will come out of this conference, or definitely what will be thrust into a focus point again, will be South Africa's nuclear energy ambitions. You'll remember that last month the Western Cape High Court ruled that South Africa's nuclear deal with, among others, Russia was indeed unlawful and unconstitutional. At the time, or shortly afterwards, the government then indicated that it would not appeal the Western Cape High Court ruling, but that it would work within what the court has stated to work on new deals around nuclear. So I think that what we can expect coming out of this conference definitely would be a focus on not just South Africa's but also nuclear on the whole. And we can expect that to be one of the main focuses specifically with regards to South Africa coming out of this 3-day conference.
Mm-hmm. Now, Brian Molefe is probably the highlight for today's conference. The Minister will also be there. What time is the event supposed to kick off this morning, Vanessa?
Yes, the delegates have started trickling in here in the conference hall, amphitheatre as it were, and we can expect the proceedings to kick off in the next 20 minutes or so at 9:30. We do know that Mr. Molefe, recently reappointed to Eskom as CEO, will make the opening address here at the 17th Annual Utility Week. We do know that Mr. Ben Gubani is also expected to speak, and on the programme we do see that Minister Lynn Brown is also expected to address the conference. So it hasn't as yet gotten underway, but we can expect that in the next 20 minutes or half an hour or so, this conference will kickstart. And then, of course, all eyes will be on what Mr. Brian Molefe has to say when he addresses this gathering. Also, his return to Eskom, highly controversial. We know that as we speak, there's already an urgent application before the courts from the Democratic Alliance to halt that process. Yesterday, when he did return to Eskom, when he arrived at work, we've seen visuals on television and so on, how the Eskom staffers welcomed him back with song and dance. We also heard from Mr. Molefe saying that staff members at Eskom must do all they can to keep the lights on this winter. So we can expect him to elaborate on exactly what his plans are at this point in time as the newly reappointed CEO of Eskom going forward in order to secure energy availability in South Africa.
Vanessa Puna, thank you so much for that report. That's coming to us live from African Utility Week. We'll go there live a little bit later to find out what Mr. Brian Molefe, the Eskom CEO, has got to say. Yesterday he was welcomed by the Eskom staff, as you heard there. They said, welcome back, Papa action. Now let's move on. Opposition parties say they are optimistic that a constitutional court will rule in their favor after arguing their case for a secret motion of no confidence vote in President Jacob Zuma. The court is expected to deliver its verdict soon after reserving judgment yesterday.
The EFF argues that on the basis of possible party sanctions, the members of parliament must be protected.
If members of parliament are entitled as a matter of law to vote according to their personal conscience, the only logical explanation why Section 86 requires a contested vote of a president to be done by way of a secret ballot is to protect the personal conscience. No contest is taken with that proposition at all by our learned friends.
The UDM argues that the omission of vote by secret ballot on the motion of no confidence doesn't mean it is prohibited.
It is not an omission which is ipso facto an exclusion, definitely. It may, as Justice Zondo says, be an oversight.
In assessing these arguments, the more difficult is the balance of separation of power and what the Constitution envisage.
I don't understand, Mr. I'm sorry to detain you, but how can we say you have a discretion? I thought if you have a discretion, you have a choice between saying secret ballot or open ballot. That's the discretion, or something else. Yes. But if you don't even have a choice, how can it be a discretion?
And this has been a concern raised by both the President and the Speaker of Parliament. The UDM argues the President should be held personally liable for the legal costs, as he also makes submissions on behalf of the ANC, which had decided not to file papers.
Now, some of the opposition parties who were present at yesterday's court proceedings reacted to the day's events.
In a world where we maintain that there's a case against Jacob Zuma, secrecy should not be the inhibitor. I will always stand up and say publicly I will vote to remove Jacob Zuma because it is the very essence of what consciousness would mean in our interpretation. And so that's why we said we'll comply, that either way it makes no material difference to us because we maintain that we must uphold our oath of office, defend the Constitution and remove Jacob Zuma.
There is no doubt in anybody's mind that we have been vindicated. When we originally said the Speaker has got discretion and she should use that discretion, but today they considered that indeed she has the powers to conduct that voting through a secret ballot. We welcome this concession.
Just find it, why was it so important for the UDM to make sure that this thing is being ventilated in court and it comes to finality? There has been also the argument, which was brought up by the President as well, that this court doesn't have jurisdiction as it stands at the moment, that the UDM should have gone to a lower court before coming here.
Well, we know that of the three arms of government, the parliament as well as the executive have failed this country. We knew that if we come to the Constitutional Court, we will get a fair hearing. And as a result, people here were tumbling all over themselves. And we are confident that we will get a better judgment.
If they say the secret ballot is permissible, it's an obligation on Parliament to sanction a secret ballot, a huge argument was put, particularly coming from the Chief Justice, that during nicer times, and we made this argument actually somewhere in Pretoria in the press conference, that when it is nice to put a president, a secret ballot is allowed. But when it is difficult times to remove the president and the entire cabinet, we are told you can't use a secret ballot. So just that line alone guarantees you that the secret ballot is actually more relevant now than ever before. And therefore we are actually convinced that Zuma will not be president, and therefore this court will not even have to pronounce on impeachment processes because the constitutional delinquent will not be there.
Ours was based on the fact that from 2012, the IFP has been pursuing this matter of a secret ballot because it was logical that if you vote somebody in by secret ballot, you could vote that person out by secret ballot. Prince Buthelezi has mentioned it in speeches. We've taken it up. I've taken it up as the chief whip, and I think that the court's going to rule in our favor. And today, if we get the ruling in our favor, it will really strengthen democracy, and it will also say to the ruling party, do not use the 62% that you have in Parliament just to ride roughshod over what the majority of the people in this country want for the future of this country.
The acting National Police Commissioner Khomotso Baslani has commended his officers for their swift arrest of 4 people in connection with the murder of the former Generations actor Mandla Hlatshwayo and a friend, Opa Chomchom Duma. The pair was shot and killed while trying to stop 4 men from robbing women outside a pub in Soweto. Baslani spoke to SABC a little bit earlier.
We are grateful as the South African Police Service to report that 4 people were arrested, found in possession of a firearm and Mandrake's tablets. These people are directly linked to the unfortunate murder and killing of Mandla Hlatshwayo. They are in custody as we speak. Further investigations are being conducted, and I'm truly grateful to the work done by the members to have swiftly moved and realized this arrest. Equally so, grateful to the members of the community who have taken their rightful place in working together with the police to ensure that we are successful in our endeavors.
Yeah. Commissioner, just in terms of the details surrounding the death of Mandla Hlatshwayo, the story coming out was obviously that he was trying to assist a lady, and at the time him and a friend were unfortunately killed at that time. Any more details about the events surrounding his killing?
Leanne, I will unfortunately not be able to disclose any further details. I would want to confine that to the investigation. Let the investigation uncover all the facts and such facts to be presented to the court when these 4 people appear.
When did these arrests occur, Commissioner?
In the early morning hours today.
Now we'll go to Parliament a little bit later to find out what the acting police commissioner has got to say at the Police Portfolio Committee. But now, today, it's our theme. We're focusing on children and online activity and exposure to online activities such as cybercrime. You also have pedophilia, and there's a new suicide game. It's called Blue Whale. Have you heard about it? Well, that's why we're asking you the question today. That question we pose to you today is, how do you keep your children safe from online threats? You're also tweeting us on the question. Let's take a look. This one from El Ayatollah Sultan says, honestly speaking, I don't know this game. Well, there you have it. Dipanso says, that's a challenging one. Educating them about the opportunities the internet brings and the disadvantages of it, maybe that's a start. That's a very good one there, Dipanso. Exceptional says, engage law enforcement agencies and make reports if possible, or completely bar the kids from using the internet for security reasons. Now, these are some of your comments. You can keep them coming. We'll read them as we continue. We continue with this discussion, and we started off with Yemen.
Yeah, some very, very nice tweets there. Commendable. Keep tweeting us, guys, at SABC Newsroom. Yes, our discussion today is around Blue Whale, the shocking online game phenomenon that seems to be a trend amongst depressed or even suicidal teenagers. But what is this game all about? Let's take a look into it. Blue Whale might sound like a harmless kids game, but it's an online suicide game that has caused more than 130 deaths around the world. The game was developed in Russia by a 21-year-old, Philip Budikin, who has since been arrested. He believes that he was cleansing society of biological waste through his game. The game cannot be downloaded on Play or the iStore, but rather participants contact curators through a series of coded hashtags on Twitter or Instagram. They will then be contacted personally and given a series of tasks designed to break them down over the next 50 days until they commit suicide. The game resembles that of the movie Nerve, as the tasks get worse as the level increases and include waking up at odd times, watching a series of violent videos, standing on the edge of a building, and even cutting themselves. They will post a picture of a whale before taking their own lives. Shocking, isn't it? Now, as the online space develops at an alarming rate, we are constantly warned about the dangers, especially to our children, who at a young age can navigate themselves around the net quite easily, from cyber stalking, human trafficking syndicates, and even pedophiles that pretend to be young people interested, hunks, even pornography, violent, uncensored visuals, and now these type of games, more sinister than society could have anticipated. Blue Whale, the suicide game. Now, the Federation of Mental Health reports that there are around 8,000 suicides in South Africa every single year. Tech unsavvy parents will have no clue what their children are really getting involved in with this game until it's too late. To talk to us more about this, well, we are joined by psychologist and South African Depression and Anxiety Group affiliate, Nkini Pasha. Very good morning to Nkini. Nice to have you back.
Hi, Evan. It's good to be here.
So,
just to correct, I'm the South African Depression and Anxiety Group board member and senior spokesperson.
There we go. We got it right, finally. Thank you. Listen,
Thank you for having me.
This is serious business, though, that we are talking about, the safety of our children. We see that the suicide rate in South Africa, I think we rank 8th in the world at the moment, if I'm not mistaken. That's higher than the UK and the US. What do the findings tell you about, firstly, what's happening in South Africa before we talk about Blue Whale?
Very, very alarming. I mean, it's really alarming statistics. And I mean, if one just sort of maybe drill it down a bit, we know that in South Africa, we have more than 20 successful suicides that take place in South Africa every single day, and over 200 attempted suicides. So that is telling us that we have got a very serious problem on our hands in South Africa. The trend is definitely on the increase, and particularly looking at our young people. We are sitting at more than 10% of teen deaths in South Africa that are due to suicide. So this is telling us that more and more of our young people, are being affected by this, and they're looking to taking away their lives, as the only solution, as the only way out. So, it's quite critical that we then take on this fight to try and turn the tide in as far as this is concerned.
How do you view this Blue Whale game that we're seeing doing the rounds? It started in Russia, it's now come into South Africa. Some say it's been here for a while. It's just quite very difficult to navigate. How do you view Blue Whale?
Look, I mean, it's a very, very, very risky, game, very dangerous. We do know, as you've mentioned from the reports that have come through, international reports, that already over 100 young lives that have been claimed, by this game. We do know that it has made its appearance in Africa, certainly in Kenya, for example, where the reports that have come through is that at least 2 teenagers have taken away their lives linked to blue whale. So in South Africa, you know, the reports are still quite, you know, scanty in as far as the impact that it's had, or rather how many, you know, young people have, number one, been, you know, engaged with this game, and whether or not, you know, any lives have been taken as a result of this. But certainly being on platforms such as these really goes a long way in ensuring that we can educate. I mean, I like one of your viewers' tweets that came through about educating and empowering our young people about the benefits and the dangers, you know, of cyberspace, because we do know that it can certainly be a very dark and very dangerous, you know, place for our young people.
In the case of teens, you know, we like to tell them quickly, snap out of it. It's just a phase you're going through. Talk to us about the body and the brain chemistry that causes a suicidal state.
Of course, I mean, young people, let's just start here, that, you know, as a teenager, there's a whole lot of, you know, changes that are physiological changes that are taking place in your body. There's hormonal changes, you know, that are taking place. You're still trying to find yourself. So you're not quite, you know, the baby anymore. You're not quite an adult. So it's that sort of transition space that is quite difficult for young people to navigate. But also, you know, when then you find yourself that is coupled with a type of, you know, a mental disorder, you know, it could be depression, for example, because we know that you know, young people do get affected by mental disorders. So what happens in your brain is that there is a chemical imbalance, you know, so those hormones that are responsible to empower you to be able to engage positively with the environment, they are depleted. So you've got a deficiency of what we call happy hormones, and that then means that your brain is no longer functioning in a manner, in a proper manner that it should, and that then manifests in the type of symptoms that we see, you know, persistent sadness, significant change in mood, thinking about death, thinking about taking away your life, and really giving up on, you know, hobbies and things that were of interest to you. As a young person, academically, you might have been a top performer. That will start changing. It will impact on you quite negatively.
Talk to us about that a little bit further, because I'd like parents to know what they should be on the lookout for. And, you know, we always talk about this when we talk to Saturday, but if I was a parent watching now, what should I be on the lookout for within my child?
Well, very often parents say, you know what, I mean, that's, you know, teenagers are like that. They are moody, you know, they've got mood swings. But it's very, very important that as parents, we are actively invested in our kids and children's lives. And you have got to know your child, the personality of your child, so that when there is a slight change, you are able to pick it up. Of course, I mean, what we are seeing is that young people that are vulnerable to a mental disorder or are going through a mental disorder is that they will often lock themselves up in their rooms. They would not want to engage, you know, with anyone, with the family, you know, around them. And bringing it back to Blue Whale, this online game, is that very often they'll be on their smartphones, you know, or iPads, or their laptops, you know. So it's important for parents to also be invested actively there, to know what your child is actually doing on their smartphone, what sites they're visiting.
That's the very difficult one. So you saw a tweet a little bit earlier, you know, and as parents, it's something that we had to discuss. And it's almost impossible to monitor what your child engages with online, because it's smart devices, it's friends' homes, it's all matters of places that are out of your control. How do we do that?
You know, what we see, even you spot on, you know, there are certainly challenges, but also what we are seeing more and more is that, you know, parents tend to throw material things at the children, you know, at inverted commas problem, you know. So let's throw money, let's throw all these gadgets. But you need, as a parent, you have got to be there. So when your child knows that you do engage openly with him or her in wanting to know exactly what is it that they get up to. Also, I mean, there are security features on these devices that you can set them up. Obviously, if you are a parent that is not empowered, you know, from an IT or technology savvy point of view, you certainly can then get, you know, the stores where you've bought or purchased these gadgets to say, assist me in setting up security features that will ensure that my child does not get exposed to certain spaces, cyber spaces. You know, so in that way, it's starting to bring some level of control and some level of involvement as a parent to ensure that you can really save your child from the dangers of cyberspace.
Well, thank you, Nkini, for joining us. Nkini Pasha, just give us that important title again you hold.
I'm the board member as well as the senior spokesperson for the South African Depression.
Fantastic. Great to have Nkini with us.
Always a
of course.
pleasure. Thank you.
It's very concerning. The blue whale game. Do you know what your child is up to? Well, how do you keep them safe? That's our question of the day. But we're also running a poll. And this poll, well, we're asking you on the poll. A South African commits suicide every hour. Just over 22.2 per day, more than 8,000 every year. We're talking, of course, about these kinds of awareness. We've got 192 votes in. Still, 51% say, no, we are not shocked. 49% say, yes, we are shocked. So, it's a close call there. You guys are also tweeting us. Let's have a look what you say around the high suicide rate. Sipo, did you know? He says, yo, I'm so shocked. Yo, every hour, yes. 8,000 every year. Maxwell Jr. says, as human beings, we need to love and support each other when we talk about suicide awareness. Peter Mofokeng tweets us, he says, South Africans are living under tremendous pressure, a lack of hope, financial stability. We need proper leadership in our economy, politics, etc. Peter, it's the case everywhere in the world. Sitsaba says, yo, I'm shocked. Every hour, yes, every hour. One person succeeds. That's only the ones that succeed in killing themselves. Every hour in South Africa. And Kini told us a short while ago, well, that around 10 others, well, don't succeed in killing themselves. Let's take a look at our picture of the day. This one comes from yesterday, the big story of the day we had yesterday. Of course, it's of course the secret ballot, Concord. It was taken from one of yesterday's tweets saying the hearing's underway. The protest looks strong outside the court. This could be a big day for South African politics, of course. It's been a discussion point, and for those of you who are watching SABC News, judgment was reserved until Monday. Now, for our comment of the day, came on the same story, Simon Grindrod, who says, Chief Justice Mogoeng is a national treasure, a man of integrity, humility, and intelligence. Talking about the secret ballot. That's what it was. Now, we're going to take a short commercial break. You're watching Newsroom. We'll be back with you shortly.
After a horrific accident, major questions were asked.
So step one, I asked myself, do I really want to die? And my answer to that was, I'm not sure. And then step two was, do I want my parents to bury me? And the answer to that was no.
Learning kept his brain in full action on how the brain works.
When I was in hospital, right, as I was saying, to catch up with my peers, I started to become obsessed with memory techniques and how the brain works and how we retain information.
Touching lives is his continuous mission.
I now work for a non-profit where we deal with access issues regarding kids with disabilities and persons with disability. We're busy working on beach access.
Being wheelchair-bound did not stop fun in his life.
I party in a wheelchair, I laugh in a wheelchair, I smile in a wheelchair.
For all your uplifting stories, catch Bupilong every Friday.
Now we continue our discussion on the game, the blue whale game, making headlines. Over 130 deaths linked to this already. Countries are up in arms over this and are working hard on plans to ban this game or raise awareness of it before it gets out of hand. Now, but with the nature of the game, it may be very difficult to track the curators unless you are working with a vigilante hacking group such as Anonymous. We've already started blocking the workers behind the game. But how is South Africa handling the situation here? We are joined by the Film and Publications Board Specialist, Tsepo Monghali. A very good morning to you, Mr. Monghali, and welcome.
Morning, and morning to the viewers.
First and foremost, what is South Africa doing about this blue whale game that is sweeping the world, especially teenagers participating in this suicide game?
I think it's quite a difficult game to tackle because it's not available on the legit stores like the App Stores, iTunes, or the Google App Stores or Windows App Stores. Mm-hmm. And what is key for us and what we have identified to be an important aspect tackling this particular kind of games, because this is not the only game that we have been worried about.
Yes.
The key.
So there's more?
Yes, there's more games, but in particular there's one which is called Work Your Boss, which it encourages employees to work their boss using whatever they can to kill their boss, and just click a button, a cleaner comes and it cleans everything. And if those games are played by children, they can exercise the same thing in the house. They can use the knife to just whack your mother or whack your brother if they are not happy with something that they are doing. And assuming that when the nanny comes, she will just clean everything and everything will come back to normality.
Now, let's talk about, I want to come back to Blue Whale game.
Yes.
What official information do you as the Film and Publication Board have about this game?
Yes, in fact, there have been lots of stories about this game, and I think one puzzling thing about it is that most of the sources, they have not confirmed if they have played the game themselves. If you are to check even all the reports that have been roaming around also internationally. So it's a puzzling thing for us as well, and also for other countries in terms of how do you tackle it then if you have not even had access to that particular game yourself, because I think it is very, very important for us to get access to the game, try play the game and see what actually happens when you play the games, because all we get is reports. Yes. And another key thing is, are these reports really or necessarily linked to this particular game or not? And those are some of the questions which we are asking ourselves. Is there anything more to these reports about this game or not? Mm-hmm. So, but like I've said, I think the key thing is education. Yes. We always say that education is very vital, because this particular kind of developers or this particular kind of game developers, they target vulnerable children. If you are to notice these days, parents, they use smartphones and computers to use as babysitters. Mm-hmm. And they don't get to access or they don't get to see what their children are exposed to. Yes. So as the Film and Publication Board, what we have been embarking on lately, and which we have realized that I think it is the key in terms of succeeding in tackling these particular challenges in terms of the content that the children access. We have targeted parents, educators, and learners, because most of the time we have been targeting learners, but forgetting that parents play a big role in this. They are the one who give the children access. They are the one who give the children money to buy data and so forth. So it is very, very important so that parents get to know what are they exposing their children into. Mm-hmm.
Now, when you talk about education drives, what sort of activities are you embarking on to make sure that people get the message, so to speak?
Yes, we've got coming. We've got Child Protection Week, which we are partnering with the likes of Google in terms of cyber security awareness, as well as how to be cyber smart when you are online. Because those are the key things. Yes, we can impose age rating, we can impose whatever we think will help the children, but if the children or the parents themselves are not informed about the reason behind imposing those particular age rating or age gating, it will not even yield the result that we might be expecting.
Mm-hmm. Now, any app that comes into South Africa, is there certain procedures that the app needs to go through, and especially coming through the Film Publication Board, or not, when they want to expose or when they want to market themselves to South Africans?
Yes, there are procedures in terms of if, like for instance, there are single apps or few apps. For example, you have to submit those apps to us, and we classify it and we give age rating before it gets uploaded online or even on physical box material in terms of the games. But now, you know, we've got challenge with regards to the massive content available on the likes of Google App Store, where you have got over millions, which it will be very impossible for us as the Film and Publication Board to classify each and every single game or app. But what we have been doing in terms of addressing that going forward, in our amendment bill, which is currently doing rounds, we are looking to accredit foreign and international rating agencies, so that what they have rated in terms of their particular country on the metrics that they use behind the South African metrics as well is there, so that at least the norms and standard of the South African market is covered in terms of age rating that is issued universally or subsequently regionally.
So it'll make it a little bit easier for you guys then to work with that.
Yes.
But in the case of this Blue Whale game,
Yes.
how do people access it, and does it's not subjected to the scrutiny of the Film Publications Board? Is that what you're saying?
No. Each and every game, especially a game of that kind of magnitude in terms of the report, surely that game will be banned. That game won't even be classified, will be refused classification because of what it advocates in terms of suicide. That cannot be the game that gets its way into the app stores and so forth and so forth. So, but what we are looking to do, we're looking to engage with the likes of the ISPAs and other telcos in terms of ensuring that indeed, if that particular game finds itself in the South African market, there should be something that is done on that particular game, because we need to get hold of the game itself and see what it does, because what we are doing now, we're only relying on what others are saying, but we also need to understand what it does. Indeed, is it advocating suicide, or is it as harmful as the reports are saying? So that is very, very important for us, because it paves a way in terms of how do we handle similar kind of games going forward with regards to the ones that are available on a non-app stores.
So if found not suitable, you would ban the game immediately?
Yes, the game would be banned, because we cannot give age rating on that particular game. We've got refused classification, which is one of our resort in terms of content that is deemed to be extremely harmful.
I'm not too sure if you're aware of it. There's a movie called Nerve that has almost got a similar trend to this. And would a movie like that almost sort of educate people, would that be banned or not?
No, there are lots of elements with regards to the classification elements and the interpretation of the classification guidelines. Is it educational? How is it educating the public? And so forth. There are lots of factors that the classifiers look into before they can decide to ban the game itself. Because it might be, a film that is educating people, it's making people to be aware of certain elements of certain factors that they might be exposed to. So it's not necessarily saying that if they say this film is not right, we ban it. We need to understand the elements. We need to understand the reasoning behind the producers in terms of the script that has been written. So there are lots of factors that gets considered. So with regards to films, obviously it will go through the full classification process, and reasons will be given why is it allowed, or why is it given a particular age rating, and why is it refused classification if that is the case.
Now, you say that you're currently relying only on reports in relation to Blue Whale. Are you doing some investigations further, or undercover investigations like we see in the movies, where people actually go in and hack themselves into the systems and find out how the game is being played, in order for you to make sure that this game does not find itself onto the internet and where people can get access, especially youth can get access to it?
Yes, we have already started doing our own investigation into the game itself, because it's very, very important for us to get hold of the game before the South African public gets the game, because I think it will be wrong of us to just ignore it and the game finds itself into the market, and we experience similar cases like what has been reported in Kenya and Russia, and that shouldn't be an ideal thing. So we'll want to get hold of that particular game and also engage with the likes of ISPA, as I've mentioned, so that we can do something about it.
What is your message to youngsters out there, and especially parents looking at our program today, in relation to games such as this Blue Whale and others that you've mentioned earlier?
Yes, I think the key thing, familiarize yourself with the gadgets that you give to your children. I think that is very, very important. And you've got places like the likes of Voda shops, the MTN shops and so forth, who can advise you in terms of how to put settings, because on most of those apps, there are security features, security settings that are there. It's just the parents don't know about those, which aid-gate content which have been rated, and also block sites that are deemed to be harmful, because some of those games are available purely online. So you can block that game through the link that is available in there. So I think one key thing about it is education. They need to familiarize themselves with the gadgets that they give to their children.
Mr. Mokhali, I thank you so much for your time and joining us here in studio.
Thank you.
That was Mr. Tsepo Mokhali. He is the Film Publication Board Specialist, talking to us about the game, the Blue Whale game, and others. There are others, people, so don't just go click on a game and go wild. Check it out. Well, let's find out from Eben if there's any tweets on social media that's currently happening in relation to the question as well as the poll that we've set up for you today.
Yeah, obviously we've been running a poll, of course, a poll. It's around the shocking numbers, suicide numbers in South Africa. And it says that a South African commits suicide every hour. So we ask you, are you shocked? Are you shocked by these numbers? Well, we haven't updated it. We've still got 192 votes in. 49% are saying, yes, we are shocked. 51%, no, we're not shocked. D tweets us, and Dinkala tweets us and says the following: peer pressure, that's the problem. I think people commit suicide because we are under pressure. Life is difficult outside here. Yes, but everyone is struggling, D, and we need to find a way to help each other. Nozikomete says, I'm not shocked. Our youth are not working, many in drugs. And Jacques says, we need Jesus. He's the way, the truth, and the life. What about those of other religions, Jacques? Kosenati Mieni says, very shocking. Simple, to the point. Yeah, let's just take a quick roundup around the front pages from around the globe. We'll start in Europe, where the Times reports that one of the world's leading drug companies is facing a fine of up to £220 million for increasing the cost of cancer medicines after the EU launched an investigation into alleged price hiking. Then we move to the New York Times, who says indicators are far from conclusive, but intelligence officials and private security experts say that North Korean-linked hackers are likely suspects in the global ransomware attacks. Finally, in Israel, the Post there reports that President Donald Trump disclosed highly classified information to Russia's foreign minister about a planned Islamic State operation. Two US officials said earlier this week, plunging the White House into another controversy just months into Trump's short tenure in office. Well, we're going to take a short little break. When we come back, I'll be talking to Kendall about interesting developments in Formula One. Don't go away. Welcome back. You're still with Newsroom on SABC News. Now, of course, we've been dealing with children's safety and of course the suicide game that's called Blue Whale. But let's shift our focus now. We'll pick up that baton once again in the next hour. We go to Formula One, where Fernando Alonso, well, he's dealing with his disappointing Formula One seasons, last 3 seasons really, in the best possible way. He's going for motor racing's Triple Crown. That's the Indy 500, the Monaco Grand Prix, and then Le Mans. Now, his practice session marked the start of a 2-week crash course in IndyCar racing, and Kendall is here. He's quite excited about that. It's great for motorsport, isn't it?
100%, because a lot of Alonso fans have been looking forward to him having a good season, at least one, and it's been a long time coming. And he's taken the bull by the horn, so to speak, and gone on to try and do it for himself. He's going to be racing in Indy 500 at the end of May. I think it's the 28th of May, the last weekend of May, to see if he can get some more belts under, some more crowns on his belt.
I think some people don't realize that it's one of the iconic, the Triple Crown is one of the iconic things in motorsport. That's Formula One World Champion, Le Mans, 24 hours, and then the Indy 500, which is seen as one of the really dangerous oval track races around the world. And there are real fears for Alonso's safety this time around.
No, absolutely they are. Having said that, his team, there's McLaren, Honda, Andretti Autosport are taking it very easy with him. They're taking it slow with him. He did only 20 laps, for example, in his training yesterday, whereas all the other drivers did double that, sometimes some of them even triple that. So they are aware that he's a newbie, that he's a rookie, but they want to ease him into it to give him a good race come May 28th.
Now, and Alonso, of course, he's one of the great drivers of the modern era, but he's had a lot of bad luck in Formula One, hasn't he?
He's had a lot of bad luck. I mean, just this weekend, he had to stop. I think it was practice one. He had to just stop and go play some paddle. So it's a form of tennis that's played out in Latin American countries, just to ease the nerves and just get away from a bit of the challenges that he was experiencing on the track.
These are live pictures we've got now from yesterday. Or this morning, probably early overnight South African time. This is the car that is going to be racing at the Indy 500, and it looks a machine, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Sounds like a machine, looks like a machine. You know what's really cool for him? Alonso's got this really cool caveat in all of his contracts, where the racing car he drives, he gets to keep and puts it in his museum. So if you want to be looking at his museum in a couple of years' time, this car is going to be one of them.
Yeah, they say in his hometown, Oviedo in Spain, is where he parks all his cars of the last almost 20 years now at the top of the sport. Very interesting. Let's move back away from Alonso. Let's just quickly talk about the Formula One season. It's been a great start to the season. Nice to see competition back in Formula One, and the cars a bit faster.
A bit faster, a bit broader, a lot wider actually. But you know what? I think for the new owners, Liberty Media, this is a godsend, because for the longest time, Eccleston was struggling with how to make it more interesting, how to make it more exciting for fans, both on TV as well as who actually go to the races. But Liberty, somehow, as they come in, they get the season where Vettel, where Mercedes, where Ferrari, where Lewis Hamilton are up against each other. Phenomenal stuff.
Yeah, suddenly everyone's interested in Ferrari. Thank you very much, Kendall. Kendall will be back with you, actually, at about 10:40 with a complete sports update. That's if we're not live at the Utilities Week. We're waiting for Brian Molefe to take the podium and welcome the world, his first public engagement since taking office at Eskom as CEO. But let's go over to our weather desk for an update.
A very good morning. It is indeed time to see what's happening with the latest in your weather details. I've got good news and bad news. We're starting off with clear skies over most of the central parts of Africa. There's a bit of cloud just moving away from Mozambique. There's a low pressure cell, but it is moving away. Nothing to worry about, bringing just some isolated showers, especially in the coastal areas. But coming back towards southern Africa, there's that low onshore flow bringing some isolated showers from the southern parts of KwaZulu-Natal, from about Margate, moving north towards Maputo. You can expect those isolated showers in the afternoon. But then again, still have those isolated showers in Mozambique, stretching north towards the DRC, where we're expecting a bit of summer conditions and a bit of rainfall. In the central parts, up to 60% chance of rainfall. And those clear skies in the western parts of the country, summer in Botswana, Namibia, and mostly the western parts for today and tomorrow. This is tomorrow. Still clear skies in most of the southern parts of the country, with some partly cloudy weather expected along the coastal parts of Mozambique and into the interior, Malawi, Tanzania, only isolated showers. And we are expecting scattered showers in the extreme northern parts of Africa. Now, your temperature temperatures for later on today. Expecting 22 for Durban. It's a cool day for most of the interior. As you can see just behind that front, that system that we had over the weekend. Cool weather in Dar at 20 degrees. Komani at 22. And then again, we'll take a look at what's going to happen for the rest of the week, starting off in Johannesburg. We are seeing clear skies for the whole week and no chance of rainfall. But looking at Sunday, we're expecting a bit of rainfall on Sunday with 8 as your minimum, peaking at 28. And looking at what's happening in Durban, still clear skies, no chance of rainfall, but partly cloudy weather. Friday, we've got mostly sunny weather with a high of 23. But we'll look at Sunday, clear skies with a high of 24 degrees Celsius. And last but not least, Cape Town, we are expecting clear skies for the first part, that is tomorrow, which is Wednesday. 22 for Thursday, but Friday there's a very small chance of rainfall over the weekend in Cape Town Friday and Saturday. That's what we're seeing, and the maximum on Saturday is 29 degrees starting at 14. And but moving further north into towards Africa, still those clear skies over most of Africa. Today your maximum in Maun at 27, Walvis Bay peaking at 31 degrees Celsius, and along the coastal parts of Mozambique, still those rainfall with some isolated showers in places like Beira. Into Madagascar, along the eastern parts, we're expecting some isolated showers, but they only the central parts, clear skies. And Moroni at a high of 31 for today, partly cloudy weather is expected. Now back towards the DRC, where we're seeing scattered showers in the central parts of the DRC, including Kinshasa, and into Libreville, the western coastline, we're expecting those isolated showers with highs in the 30s, as you can see, Pingwe 33. It's more for summer region, those areas. And look at these isolated showers spreading all the way towards Cote d'Ivoire, Libya, Liberia, and central parts of Sudan, especially southern parts for today, into Ethiopia. And tomorrow it spreads towards the coastal parts of Sudan and the southern parts, and looking at even South Sudan, still some isolated showers in the southern parts. And looking at Nigeria and Cameroon, there's a bit of rainfall, scattered showers in those areas. Temperatures 37 for Cairo, it's very hot in the central parts with Agadez at 41, Khartoum at 38 degrees Celsius. But that's Northern Africa for you, still in the summer, in the north, looking at 37, very hot weather. I'll leave your weather here for now, be coming back with more weather updates. You stay tuned to SABC News.
I'm Alicia Jali, joining us live from our Johannesburg studios. A quick look now at your current news leaders. Parliament's Communications Committee has decided on 5 names to sit on the SABC's interim board. And the Constitutional Court has directed Social Development Minister Bathabile Dlamini and her department to account for their handling of the social grants contract.
And in tennis, Serena Williams has withdrawn from the BNP Paribas Open in Indian Wells and the Miami Open due to a left knee injury.
We're expecting it to move just in the towards the southern parts of the country, not so much coming towards southern Africa, not even touching the Mozambique channel. It's just going to move back towards the Indian Ocean.
Stay tuned to News Today, Monday to Friday from 3 to 5:30 p.m.
It is 6 p.m. Central African Time, broadcasting live from Johannesburg. This is Primetime News.
South Africa said farewell to one of the Rivonia trialists, Uncle Kathy, a fearless stalwart.
With this man who was so engaged, so busy, so witty, so funny, so wise, and so incredibly principled.
Joseph Shabalala has been honored for his contribution to the South African music industry. A statue in his honor was unveiled during an annual gala dinner in Ladysmith.
The shot of the day, however, belonged to American Daniel Berger, who chipped in for an eagle on the par 4 fifth hole.
For all your news updates, stay on Primetime News every Saturday and Sunday from 6 p.m.
Africa is getting more and more digitized, and people have to navigate through an increasingly connected world.
I did a call my bay over here.
At school, I use my Wi-Fi. On Network, we tell you about Africa's technology and social media landscape.
Politicians already do use Twitter a lot.
It's both Android and iOS compatible.
A solar charged box that includes everything, the computer, the projector.
That's Network with Ms. Phumelele Zondi every Sunday at 9 p.m.
this Ford Cougar thing is becoming a hot potato for them, excuse the pun.
U.S. carmaker Ford has finally admitted that a fault is causing some of its Ford Cougar SUVs to catch fire, and
it also formally issued a recall in South Africa.
Ford needs to take accountability.
We'll work with our dealers and try to come up with a way that satisfies them.
Welcome back. Yeah, very good morning to you once again. 10 o'clock Central African time. You'll be with us for the next hour. That's myself and Kendall. Hello, Kendall.
Good morning to you. Lots happening in the world of sports, but quite a lot happening once again in the question and poll we've got for the day.
Yeah, there's a lot of news in Parliament, but of course we're asking you a question because, well, we've seen the rise of this new game, Blue Whale. Children, and not only children, but you're only successful in this game if in the end you kill yourself after about 50 days, Kendall.
Definitely targeting vulnerable people. People are looking at finding a different way to deal with whatever they're dealing with, and this is one of the options that's been made available.
Yeah, and we are all vulnerable. We're all struggling, especially those ones that look so successful. They're the ones who, under the surface, are battling the most. So we ask you, how do we keep your children safe from these online threats? But we've also, of course, been running a poll. The Federation of Mental Health reports that there are around 8,000 suicides in South Africa every year, Kendall. The number says 1 every hour successful, another 10 that don't succeed every hour here in South Africa. Are you shocked?
Yes, I am shocked. But having said that, I think back and I look at everything we've covered about how miserable South Africans are. We did that the one day, and you know what? Then it doesn't shock me as much.
South Africans, a South African commits suicide every hour. Are you shocked? 47% out of 234 votes tell us, nope, we are not shocked. Here are your tweets, guys. Flower Boy
says it's important as a parent to be actively invested in your child's life, and this speaks particularly about how we protect children from the threats on the internet.
Yeah, absolutely. Madluka says, not shocked, because we've been exposed to many things that seem right yet not right, thus ending up opting for suicide. Then help, says Madluka.
Ricardo Peters says, wow, I'm shocked. What's happening with us? Prevent suicide, hashtag SABC.
Ricardo, we are ranked 8th in the world. So there are other nations that are more suicidal than us, apparently. Peter Mufokeng says South Africans are living under tremendous pressure, a lack of hope and financial instability. We need proper leadership in our economy, politics, etc. But it's not only money and politics that worry us, Peter. It's normally the intangible stuff, the things that you think are not important that concern your children.
No, 100%. And there's a lot to talk about in this one. Siafana Zulecho says, I'm not shocked now because things that happen each and every day. Even now, I think there's someone trying to suicide themselves.
Yeah, the numbers are quite high. 8,000 people successfully kill themselves every year in South Africa. And SADC tells us, well, the number of attempts are about 10 times that every single year. So that is shocking. But it's a very busy news morning once again. Let's get our top stories. Acting Police Commissioner Khomotso Patlane and IPID head Robert McBride are expected to face tough questions when they appear before Parliament's Portfolio Committee this morning. SASSA is currently explaining the contract with Cash Paymaster Services to the Standing Committee on Public Accounts. Eskom CEO Brian Molefe will shortly deliver the Host Utilities welcome address at the opening session of the African Utilities Week Conference and Expo this morning after his controversial reappointment as the CEO. Those are our top stories. We're waiting for Mr. Molefe to take to the podium in his first public engagement since his reappointment. But let's go over to Kendall now to get the sports.
Yeben, thank you very much. Once again, let's try and see if we can lift up your mood before we get into the heavy stuff of the day, what with our symposia, as well as talking about suicide. This is what we've got for you in the world of sport. The newly appointed Bafana coach Stuart Baxter has got big dreams for the men's senior national team.
I think that this could be the powerhouse of Africa and continue to do well in world football.
And then South African sprint sensation Nakani Simbini plans to spoil Usain Bolt's last race in Jamaica come next month.
He'll be running his final race in Jamaica, so that's going to be a pretty historic race, and I'm hoping to do well there as well.
Two-time Formula One champion Fernando Alonso continues his build-up to the Indy 500 as he starts his 2-week crash course in IndyCar racing. Yes, that's right. They race round and round in a circle, but it's extremely dangerous and extremely fast. But more about that a little later in the Sports Bulletin. For now, it's back to Eben who's got the news.
Well, thank you very much, Kendall. He'll be back with us, as I said, a little bit later. Now, top story. Acting Police Commissioner Khomotso Patlane and IPID head Robert McBride will appear before Parliament's Police Committee this morning. The two men will brief the committee on claims by the Independent Police Investigative Directorate that police are interfering in investigations into top police officers. In a committee meeting last week, McBride complained that the more senior officers are involved, the more difficult their investigations are made. He told MPs that Patlane is waging a war against his directorate. McBride also expressed discontent with a large litigation budget available to SAPS as opposed to what IPID has to its disposal. Also in Parliament, SASSA, they're currently explaining their latest contract with Cash Paymaster Services to the Standing Committee on Public Accounts. Corruption Watch wrote to Parliament's Standing Committee on Public Accounts, SCOPA, to request that it inquire what it terms fruitless expenditure. SASSA has recently been embroiled in controversy. A recent Constitutional Court ruling halted SASSA from entering into a new 2-year contract with CPS for the administering of social grants in South Africa. The court has ruled that SASSA only be allowed to continue its contract with the company until April of next year. Now, Corruption Watch lodged the application in the High Court in Pretoria in 2015, asking the court to review and set aside the decision taken by the then SASSA's CEO, Virginia Peterson, to pay the money to CPS. During questions on when will SASSA be ready to take over the contract, SASSA CEO Thokozani Magwaza said they are still working on it.
Envisage that is going to be an issue of 2 to 3 years to the maximum of 5 years that we'll be preparing ourselves and taking over. And in 5 years' time, we feel that we'll be ready to take over. I think it can happen before the time, but if there are hiccups, then we have set ourselves for a period of 5 years. I thank you, Chair.
Now, opposition parties say they are optimistic that the Constitutional Court will rule in their favour after arguing their case for a secret motion of no confidence a vote in President Jacob Zuma. The court is expected to deliver its verdict soon after reserving judgment yesterday.
The EFF argues that on the basis of possible party sanctions, the members of parliament must be protected.
If members of parliament are entitled as a matter of law to vote according to their personal conscience, the only logical explanation why Section 86 requires a contested vote of a president to be done by way of a secret ballot is to protect the personal conscience. No contest is taken with that proposition at all by our learned friends.
The UDM argues that the omission of vote by secret ballot on the motion of no confidence doesn't mean it is prohibited.
It is not an omission which is ipso facto an exclusion, definitely. It may, as Justice Zondo says, be an oversight.
In assessing these arguments, the more difficult is the balance of separation of power and what the Constitution envisage.
I don't understand, I'm sorry to detain you, but how can we say you have a discretion? I thought if you have a discretion, you have a choice between saying secret ballot or open ballot. That's the discretion, or something else. Yes. But if you don't even have a choice, How can it be a discretion?
And this has been a concern raised by both the President and the Speaker of Parliament. The UDM argues the President should be held personally liable for the legal costs, as he also makes submissions on behalf of the ANC, which had decided not to file papers.
The opposition parties who were present at yesterday's court proceedings reacted to the day's events.
The more compelling argument was the protection of the members of parliament, because as individual members they come to exercise their right. And I think beyond that, it says that the president must be held accountable, that I think as soon as we possibly can, we need to schedule that motion and ensure that we can move on to the business of South Africa and making sure that we can hold not only the executive to account, but move on to holding the whole ANC to account, because previously they've relied on that to protect Jacob Zuma. Now the question becomes, how do you ensure that you remove the whole of the ANC so that you can move on to the business of the people of this country?
If we get a secret ballot, we will not even go into impeachment because Zuma won't be president, I can tell you that. If they say the secret ballot is permissible, it's an obligation on parliament to sanction a secret ballot. A huge argument was put, particularly coming from the Chief Justice, that during nicer times, and we made this argument actually somewhere in Pretoria in the press conference, that when it is nice to put a president, a secret ballot is allowed. But when it is difficult times to remove the president and the entire cabinet, we are told you can't use a secret ballot. So just that line alone guarantees you that the secret ballot is actually more relevant now than ever before. And therefore we are actually convinced that Zuma will not be president, and therefore this court will not even have to pronounce on impeachment processes because the constitutional delinquent will not be there.
There is no doubt in anybody's mind that we have been vindicated. When we originally said the Speaker has got discretion and she should use that discretion, but today they considered that indeed she has the powers to conduct that voting through a secret ballot. We welcome this concession.
We want to thank all our counsel that appeared for us, thank the UDM for being the primary applicant in this case, and we submitted responding affidavits, and as you heard from Commander-in-Chief Malema, ours was based on the fact that from 2012 the IFP has been pursuing this matter of a secret ballot because it was logical that if you vote somebody in by secret ballot, you could vote that person out by secret ballot. Prince Buthelezi has mentioned it in speeches. We've taken it up, I've taken it up as the Chief Whip, and I think that the court's going to rule in our favor. And today, if we get the ruling in our favor, it will really strengthen democracy, and it will also say to the ruling party, do not use the 62% that you have in Parliament just to ride roughshod over what the majority of the people in this country want for the future of this country.
In KwaZulu-Natal has called on the judiciary to desist from being used as a tool to settle political scores. Hundreds of ANC supporters took to the streets in protest against what they call judicial overreach.
Heavy downpours did not deter these ANC supporters, bringing the CBD to a standstill in protest against the judiciary and its alleged interference in political matters. The ANC believes it's a dangerous trend that threatens judicial independence and credibility. This in reference to a Pretoria High Court ruling forcing President Jacob Zuma to provide reasons for his decision to sack the former Minister of Finance and his deputy.
The judiciary must protect itself and not be used as the political weapon to advance the interest of the opposition parties.
The ANC says it wants Parliament to act on this.
The judiciary must leave political issues to Parliament. Secondly, the Parliament must put in place the act that will make it difficult for political parties to take matters to court.
The party says it supports President Zuma's decision to reshuffle his cabinet. Ayinda Mhlongo, SABC News, Durban.
Finance Minister Malisi Gigaba says Treasury will use its 500 billion rand annual procurement budget to give more support to black-owned businesses. He was speaking at a business dinner hosted by the Black Business Council in Johannesburg.
Soon introduce the public procurement bill. It has been in development for 18 months, and I instructed National Treasury on Friday to accelerate the process by preparing a cabinet memo so that cabinet can authorize its release for public consultation. Amongst other things, this bill provides for supplier development for procurement, provides for targeting designated groups, allowing us to call for tenders only from businesses owned by black people, women, youth, and people living in particular areas.
South Africa has deteriorated in an independent ranking of the worst, most fragile states, coming in at 96th out of 178 countries. The Washington-based NGO Fund for Peace ranks countries in an annual index by assessing them across social, economic and political indicators to identify potential risk of turmoil. Now, South Sudan is the most fragile state, followed by Somalia, the Central African Republic and the Yemen.
Africa's ranking has declined over the last decade from 132 on the list to 98 out of 178 countries, reflected by what the report calls severe economic challenges, while also pointing to a dangerous fragmentation in the population as a whole, as well as the country's leadership. The higher the ranking, the more stable the country, and as the color palette behind me demonstrates, blue being the best and red being the worst. So countries with a cooler color analysis, so blue, for example, tend to be more sustainable, tend to be more stable. Countries then that have darker colors tend to have greater fragility, greater instability, indicated by the red on the chart. So if we were to look, for example, at the map, Australia is blue, in an indication of stability. Mongolia is green, an indication of stability. But then when you hit Africa, you see South Africa has a yellow palette, which indicates a warning color on this index. And as you go north into sub-Saharan Africa, greater fragility, greater instability there. The report's analysis of South Africa also questions steps taken to boost the country's economy, criticizing sharply the decision by President Jacob Zuma to fire a widely respected finance minister. It notes the introduction of radical economic transformation, including land distribution, but warns that the policy worryingly echoes the past experience of Zimbabwe. It also points to pervasive racial divides wherein stark economic disparities persist. The analysis says the country is facing a leadership crisis, warning that South Africa was once a great hope for the continent and that its decline should cause alarm both within the country and also regionally. Meanwhile, the United States ranks as the 13th most worsened state of the year, mainly over political divisions, but remains at a strong 158th. Ethiopia, Mexico and Turkey are the most worsened countries in terms of fragility since 2016, followed by Brazil, the Gambia and South Africa. South Sudan is the most fragile state at number 1 on this list. Syria is at 6th, the DRC at 7th, Zimbabwe at 13th. Sherman Bryce-Pease, SABC News, New York.
Interesting look there by Sherwin on fragility around the planet. Yes, at times when we think we're the worst, we're only mid-table. They say it's the same with corruption. But let's move on. The acting National Police Commissioner, Khomotso Patlane, has commended his officers for their swift arrest of 4 people in connection with the murder of former Generations actor Manda Tlatswayo and a friend of his, Opa Chomchom Duma. The pair were shot and killed while trying to stop 4 men from robbing women outside a pub in Soweto. Patlane spoke to SABC News a little bit earlier.
We are grateful as the South African Police Service to report that 4 people were arrested, found in possession of a firearm and Mandrex tablets. These people are directly linked to the unfortunate murder and killing of Manda Tlatswayo. They are in custody as we speak. Further investigations are being conducted, and I'm truly grateful to the work done by the members to have swiftly moved and realized this arrest equally so grateful to the members of the community who have taken their rightful place in working together with the police to ensure that we are successful in our endeavors.
Yeah. Commissioner, just in terms of the details surrounding the death of Mandla Tswayo, the story coming out was obviously that he was trying to assist a lady, and at the time him and a friend were unfortunately killed at that time. Any more details about the events surrounding his killing?
Leanne, I will unfortunately not be able to disclose any further details. I would want to confine that to the investigation. Let the investigation uncover all the facts, and such facts to be presented to the court when these 4 people appear.
When did these arrests occur, Commissioner?
In the early morning hours today.
The CEO of the Nelson Mandela Academic Hospital, Nomalanga Makwedini, was asked this morning about the incident that has brought embarrassment to the profession of saving lives instead of taking them. And this is what she had to say.
First of all, let me say our condolences to the family of the bereaved family, and also even give support to the family of the affected young people. As a Department of Health, we are a department that is here to save lives. That is our main purpose. When a person comes through the department, you expect that person must leave the institution healthy. Now, being Nelson Mandela Academic Hospital, responsible for training of young people, when these students, we have an affiliation between the university and the hospital. And when they come through our hospital, what they are taught all the procedures that are there to save lives, not to take a life. As a department, we are embarrassed to find that one of our own, because these students are both, whether the others are junior and the other one is senior, their purpose in life is to study, to save lives. And the student that we have lost was a 6th-year student whom we're looking forward that in the next financial year, 2018, he was going to be a fully fledged intern, either in our university, in our hospital, or would have even chosen any other province, whether it is KZN or it is Free State. But what we were expecting from him is to come in now and practice all what he has been taught through the whole 6 years that he has been in school.
It is 6 p.m. Central African Time, broadcasting live from Johannesburg. This is Primetime News.
South Africa said farewell to one of the Rivonia trialists, Uncle Kathy, a fearless stalwart.
With this man who was so engaged, so busy, so witty, so funny, so wise, and so incredibly principled.
Joseph Shabalala has been honored for his contribution to the South African music industry. A statue in his honor was unveiled during an annual gala dinner in Ladysmith.
The shot of the day, however, belonged to American Daniel Berger, who chipped in for an eagle on the par 4 fifth hole.
For all your news updates, stay on Primetime News every Saturday and Sunday from 6 p.m.
Good morning, welcome back. My name is Kendall Makamat, and we go to sports a little bit early. We've got a special broadcast happening throughout the day today. Now, South Africa's sprint sensation Akane Simbini has set himself a target of breaking the African 100-meter record of 9.85 seconds. The 23-year-old has held an impressive season this year, running under 10 seconds on 6 different occasions. He's also committed to doubling in the 100 and 200 meters at the London IWF World Championships in August.
A week ago, Simbini won the 100 meters at the Doha Diamond League. He clocked 9.99 seconds. It was a perfect start to his international campaign. He beat a quality field, including Jamaican Asafa Powell, Justin Gatlin of the United States, and Canadian Andre DeGrassi. That performance was a continuation of his good form after running the second fastest time in the world this year, 9.992 seconds, at the South African Championships in April. He now aims at dipping under the 9.85 seconds African record set by Nigerian Olusoji Fasuba in 2006.
I really want to, break African record and finish the year off with the African record because it's something I believe I can do. And as an athlete, I always want to improve myself. And, running a 9.85 is not the end. For me, it's going faster than the 9.85 and keep improving the record. And just not the South African record, but keep improving the African record as well.
He will challenge for a double at the World Champs. Priority remains the 100 meters, but he's also aiming for a podium finish in the 200.
My goals for the double, for the 100 and the 200 to definitely, get into the final and, challenge for a medal. The 100 meters, I need to make sure I come back with the medal. The 200 meters, I'm going to do my best to actually, try to get into a medal position.
His build-up to the World Champs is different from the 2016 Rio Olympics. This year, there is a lot of expectation.
I think I can live up to those expectations, but I don't let it change what I'm going to do at the track. I come to the track with a mission, and that's to win the race.
Simbini will have the opportunity to run against Johan Blake and Usain Bolt before he begins his European circuit. Lebantube, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Now to cycling, Bora Hansgrohe rider Rafael Majka narrowly outsprinted New Zealander George Bennett to win stage 2 of the Tour of California on Monday, and Lachlan Mortonov, Team Dimension Data, finished in 4th position. This while Latvia's Tom Skanes crashed heavily during a descent and his team had to pull him off the race.
Skanes was among a group of several riders leading the stage when he crashed heavily during a descent.
Thank you. Stay on.
The Cannondale rider then fell over trying to get back on his bike. He was almost hit by several riders coming downhill. Skanes was then pulled from the race by his team, who tweeted afterwards that he suffered a concussion and broken collarbone. And Australian Lachlan Morton, who rides for Team Dimension Data, finished in 4th position, 16 seconds from the winner. Morton is the leader of Dimension Data on the climbing days and is also expected to shine in stages 4 and 5. Polish cyclist Majka finished the hilly 144.5 kilometer stage from Modesto to San Jose in 3 hours 43 minutes and 46 seconds. He took over as the overall leader by 2 seconds from Lotto and El Jumbo's Bennett. American Team Sky rider Ian Boswell was third across the stage 2 finish line to claim 3rd in the overall standings. Mduduzi Ndlovu, SABC News.
Now, Fernando Alonso was back in an IndyCar and briefly at the top of the timing charts on Monday, the 15th of May. This is the twice Formula One champion continued his build-up to the Indianapolis 500 later this month. Who flew directly from Barcelona to Indianapolis after a 12th place finish at his home Spanish Grand Prix on Sunday, started the first full day of practice at the Brickyard by setting the pace in the rookie orientation session with a speed of 221 miles per hour or 357 kilometers per hour. The practice session marked the start of a 2-week crash course in IndyCar racing for Alonso, who will miss the next stop on the F1 calendar in Monte Carlo to race the Indy 500 on the 28th of May. This is the second duel in motor racing's Triple Crown, with the Monaco Grand Prix and Le Mans making up the third. Alonso's one on the streets of Monaco already felt good.
Yeah, I felt good in the car. Temperature changed a lot compared to the test I did here, so I was a little bit concerned about the feeling with the car, but everything went fine. I felt the same good feeling and good confidence.
Final coach Stuart Baxter says his understanding of local players' mentality and the competitiveness of the PSL will help make his second tenure with the team successful. The Englishman said this while speaking to the media for the first time since his appointment as coach of the team was confirmed 2 weeks ago.
SAFA took a long time to finalize the appointment of the coach, with former Chipolo Polo mentor Hervé Renard and Indomitable Lions coach Hugo Bruce front runners at some point. But the association had to settle for Baxter when their preferred candidates became unavailable.
The contractual relationship between those coaches and those countries. Because here you are not dealing with a domestic situation, you're dealing with an international situation.
Baxter is expected to hit the ground running with the team playing a 2018 FIFA World Cup qualifier away to Nigeria on June 10th.
I'm chomping at the bit a little bit to get to grips with the quite big challenge of Nigeria away with little preparation.
He will also juggle his coaching duties at SuperSport United until completely leaving the team once it has finished its ABSA Premiership and Nedbank Cup campaigns. Pesinkato, SABC News, Soweto.
Now, speaking of national teams, South Africa's under-20s began their World Cup campaign on a winning note in South Korea earlier yesterday. Amajita beat South American powerhouse Costa Rica by 2-1 in their warm-up match in Sunwon province. Despite the absence of key players, Pagamani Mahlambi and Reeve Frosler, both from Bidvest, as well as SuperSport United's Debo Mokoena. Amajita head coach Thabo Snow will be going into their opening match against Japan in their Group D match this Sunday with a touch more confidence than when he left our shores. Striker Luther Singh continues to exhibit the form that won him the 2017 AFCON Under-20 tournament Golden Boot. Amajita's opening match kicks off at 10 o'clock Central African time on Sunday morning. Now, departing captain John Terry led his Chelsea champions to a rip-roaring 4-3 victory over Watford, scoring the first goal on an evening of celebration, fireworks and streamers rather than vintage football at Stamford Bridge. Let's take a look at some of the goals from this match.
Costa, William without swing, and turned in by your man, your captain, your leader, your legend. There's a heart that beats. Oh, this could fall for Capu, and he's equalised. Header out by Yanman, as Peliqueta has hammered it back in with power to add. Kennedy, oh, it's come down for Ake and it's walked in by Batshuayi. Janmaat, Capu ahead of him. Janmaat has gone beyond Ake and scored a terrific goal. Amrabat, cleverly. Oh, Kaka, 3-3! William Fabregas! Number 4 with number 4! Champions have their lead back.
Adventure and conservationist Ma Bram Malherbe and his rowing partner Wayne Robertson arrived back in Cape Town today. This is yesterday after completing an epic journey of 8,000 kilometers from Cape Town to Rio. This in a rowing boat. The two left on the 7th of February, and their journey, full of danger and obstacles, took them a total of 92 days. They rowed as part of an initiative called DOT, that stands for Do One Thing, which aims to raise awareness about environmental management and the need to change the impact humanity has on the planet.
A rousing welcome back on African soil from friends and loved ones. A journey fraught with danger and the possibility of no return. The two left in February on a small boat with 2 oars and lots of determination, and all for a good cause.
We hit a massive storm, day 16, 17, 18. With 6-meter waves, and we capsized 4 times. We nearly died. We had a lot of instrument damage from water ingress, and because of that water ingress from those instruments, we had to permanently fix everything from that day on till the end.
The biggest problem was mental. The loneliness and sleep deprivation exacerbated by blisters and the physical challenge of continuous rain. Besides bad weather, big ships were a constant threat. They struggled to notice and avoid a small rowing boat floating in the water. But the arrival in Rio was a joyous one.
Arriving in Rio was mind-blowing. Seeing land actually for the first time. So 92 days at sea, rowing 2 hours on, 2 hours off, 2 hours on, 2 hours off, many blisters later, and just sighting land that one morning, the early morning, these mountains. But it was still a long way to go from there. But also our welcome in Rio was unbelievable. We arrived at the Royal Rio de Janeiro Yacht Club. to a lot of media. We had an ambassador there from South Africa with the South African flag, so very proudly South African.
The epic journey was for a cause, to help try and save the planet from future harm and to preserve the Earth for future generations.
The DOT challenge is all about fighting for the most valuable thing in every one of our lives, and that is to protect this precious planet. There is no planet B, there's Earth. And all of us have to we've got to take stock of the situation. Gone are the days of business as usual. Gone are the days of, oh, I can't make a difference. Every one of us can make a difference.
Two guys on a little boat, crossing the ocean, making a huge difference for a great cause. Craig Murray, SABC News, Cape Town.
Right, now before I let you go, just to let you know, 2 more match days left in the PSL. Tomorrow, everybody's going to be playing. All 16 teams will be playing, as well as on the 27th of May. And I dare say that tomorrow at 7:30 p.m., the match of the evening really is the one between Baroka FC and Highlands Park, trying to see who's going to be bottom of the log at the end of the season. Now, SASA is currently explaining their latest contract with Cash Paymaster Services to the Standing Committee on Public Accounts in Parliament. Let's cross there now live to see what's going on.
You must sort yourself out, Chief.
Okay. Maybe just listen, and then you pick up issues that you may need to respond to, because I think you get the drift. Comrade Kikan?
No, Chair, that was what I wanted to indicate earlier on. That, to be honest, we are wasting, that is the taxpayers' money, because what the department is saying to us is that they were not ready for this meeting. Now the question is, if you knew that you were not ready for this meeting, why didn't you advise us that is on time, that we are not ready, rather than flying all the way from, that is Pretoria, to here and tell us that we are not ready? Because there are other things that we could have done as a committee, rather than hearing that is from you in the meeting that you are not ready, you are now requesting that is for 2 weeks. I think I share the same sentiments with our colleagues, that you seem not to be taking us serious. There are a number of things that we need to do as a committee. And if we invite you well in advance, if you are not ready, it's not a problem. Just indicate to us that, look, guys, I can't meet you on this particular day because we are not ready. Because the letter that was sent to you, it was very clear as to what we want. But unfortunately, we are not getting any response that is from those issues. Chair, I would clearly request that the department, you are saying that we should give them 2 weeks. They must confirm in this meeting today whether within that 2 weeks you would be ready to give us the answers. Because our letters are very clear. We clearly tell you that we want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And when we meet with you, we expect you to respond to those issues. But for you to still request that is another time, to be honest, we are not taking us serious. I think we need that commitment today. And if not, maybe before you even come here, you should also indicate to us that you are ready now to give us, that is the responses on the request that we have forwarded to you.
All right.
Please.
Okay, Comrade. Comrade Chilwan?
Chairperson, thank you very much. I think out of what you have said and other colleagues are saying in terms of the 2 weeks, maybe we'll have to reserve my follow-ups that I wanted to do. But safe to say, Chairperson, to the CEO, that I think for them coming here, and for them, I think some of us, we've asked questions that we have them here in terms of the presentation as CEO. And I just want to state that maybe we are not thumb-sucking, unless a CEO, maybe this is not what you have done, because the invitation clearly said that come and brief us in terms of you responding to the court order that was given to you. And this is what you were reporting to us. And when we ask questions out of this report that you are presenting to us, and there are no answers, it's really disappointing CEO.
All right.
Because, Chairperson, I think... Oh, okay. I'll rather not... No, I'm not angry. I'm not angry.
No, you're on the floor.
Yeah, I'm not angry, Chairperson, but just to say that, you know, I had an interest actually in terms of this treasury thing because it's on page 13, CEO. And because also treasury is here, page 13 on the analysis of order, court order number 12. You have written a letter to the AG. You have written the letter to the treasury. That's what you are saying, action to implement the court order. And now if you can't say anything about that, really, I can't make that follow-up. I just wanted to note that it's here. It's not something that it comes out of from this meeting. It comes from your office. So maybe just to echo what other colleagues are saying, to say maybe next time when you come is to, for you to be able to say, now I'm ready in that 2 weeks, and so that we are able to, and maybe also, Chairperson, maybe to suggest that some of the questions that we have asked, if they can do them in writing, so that we look at them before they come. Thank you very much.
Comrade Kuno?
Chairperson, I think we were supposed to push the CEO further so that he could report on the things that he doesn't want to report on. Because I think it's from that pushing that he ended up answering some of the questions. Maybe we should push further. But I think 2 weeks, Chairperson, as my colleagues have said, is a reasonable time. But we cannot leave this meeting under the notion that SASSA just started after the court action or after March 17. Because I think people have been paid to do work in government, and they should know what is happening as far as SASSA is concerned. Maybe some of the questions that you need to prepare, I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer now. Did you say CIO? You know, when he was responding to questions, it's as though people don't know what's happening as far as SASSA is concerned, you know. And we can pick that up. It's easy to pick that up. And I think somebody should just say, I've not been part of the process because of our problems, and we would understand and move further. We're not trying to fight anyone. We're not enemies. We are deployed in different areas. All of us need to make sure that as South Africans out there, there's a service delivery to them. When you say that the migration is going to take 8 months and then from October and then 3 months, Chairperson, my question is that how long, why is it taking so long? Why is it so difficult? And is there any budgetary, what do you call it, requirements when you migrate as well? I mean, it's from what he's saying he's doing. So I think some of the things like what Comrade Shiran said earlier on, it's already in the report. They can answer to that report, because I'm worried about the budgetary requirements. And you heard from Comrade Marjas that there are problems within SASSA. Now they are going to budget votes, and they don't know what they're supposed to be reporting on because SASSA is not ready. So I'm just saying some of the things are, maybe we need to push the CEO more, and then he can answer us. Thanks, Chair.
Right. Comrade Mente.
Thanks, Chair. Chairperson, in the spirit of progress, I'll reserve my follow-ups for the 2 weeks meeting. However, I just want to stress this point that honest CEO will help you. If you contradict the statement of the minister and the statement of yourself, it goes back to my question that do you have healthy relations with your principal? Because we do not want to find ourselves come the first 2018 having you to defend yourself. That I wanted to implement this, but my principal said no. I wanted to do this, but a certain component within my department was working with someone else who's then delayed the progress of this particular task. So please be honest with us, because we are here to ensure that South Africans come the 1st of April 2018, they are not serviced by CPS. They are serviced by a South African government, either by SAPO or whoever you are going to give a tender to. That process is also taking place well in advance and fair enough so that it doesn't get taken back to court and be found an unfair process and an irregular process where we are going to have the very same situation with CPS, that we have illegal contracts. Thank you.
Right. Okay, Lengwa.
Chair, I'm constrained by the fact that colleagues have agreed to this 2 weeks. I, quite frankly, don't buy it. I don't agree to that 2 weeks. This is not a junket coming to Cape Town. It's not a junket. And Chair, the CEO said here that after the first, they've been working hard to ensure that everything goes according to plan. That's what he said. I was listening to him very carefully. What plan? Where's the plan? That's what he said. I'm a very good listener. He said they're working hard to make sure that everything goes according to plan. Where's the plan? What are they working according to? Chair, my difficulty is that from where I'm seated, I would be expecting now to be told what we have. This is what we envisage to have achieved by the 1st of July. It's what we envisage to have achieved by the 30th of September. It's what we envisage to have achieved by the 30th of November. You know, some vision. Then at least we can hold SASSA to account on what they've put there. Manje, Chair, we are trying to play finder. The CIO speaks about 8 months. 8 months is December. In his final answer, he said January. May I listen very well? Now, that's where, Chair, I have a problem. It seems as if there's a knee-jerk reaction or knee-jerk, kind of approach. I want to repeat that I do not get a sense of urgency. Right. So, Chair, now 2 weeks is now hanging over our heads like a sword of Damocles. Let me just, for the purposes of the 2 weeks, this migration, which has been touted to be 3 to 5 years, I would like, Chair, to get then the details of what has informed that vision of Uti we will be ready in 3 to 5 years, right? That's what we envisage. And the cost factors in writing, 3 to 5 years is going to cost us this, so we don't speculate and not try and pit one against the other. Because now, he must counter. So again, he must give us something official. Transition, the migration, 3 to 5 years. How much is it going to cost? What are the cost areas? Luckily, tomorrow there's another talk show with the post office. So we'll be in a position then to know what are the outcomes of what happened yesterday and what's the cost involved in that. Then, Chair, the information of beneficiaries, which sits in the hands of Crooked Paymaster Services, CPS. Crooks. Now, there's a court order. Was it last week? How is SASSA Department reacting to that? We want to know. Right, here's the court, no lento, it's on, right? We want to know. But it informs, as far as I'm concerned, the nitty-gritty, hands-on approach. They've got the fingers on the pulse of what is going on. I'll be interested to know, but I believe it's the responsibility of USASA and the department to protect the people. Ugogo's got no money to go to a lawyer to go and try and defend herself against this conglomerate of crooks.
Okay.
So the chair there, and then finally, chair. You know why I'm at pains at these 2 weeks, chair? We had a meeting in this very room just before the 1st of April, and we were told that you're not going to court. That very day, SASA was in court. Manje, I have difficulty trusting SASA and the department, but we give this leeway and it's abused and you're taken for a ride, and we are just dished out lies. But I still take exception. I still have never received a response from the question I asked that day. How is it that in the morning, after repeated questions, we asked, are you going to court? People said, no, we're not going to court. But that very afternoon, we were sitting in the house, the notifications came with SASA's in court. So the exercise of redemption is going to go a long way. I still want to know, Guti. That's why I agree with Honorable Ment, the issue of honesty.
All right. Okay. Right. I think CEO, I think there was a question asked by Tim. We need to respond to it in terms of the assurance that we are not going to have another CPS debacle in terms of the legality of the contracts. But I want to appeal to comrades, and I'm making this appeal without the benefit of knowing what is happening. And it's a pity because we're saying this in the absence of the minister. At least if she was here, it will be good, because then if you say things about somebody who is there, they can at least defend themselves. But the point I'm making, comrades, is that we know, and I thought we'll always remember that there's been a fraught relationship between the ministry and the CEO, which actually rendered that office of the CEO meaningless in terms of the processes that led us to court. And I think, Hlengwa, even that going to court, it might as well be that you had the CEO in front of you saying we're not going to court, and the minister taking another decision. So it may not necessarily be pointing to us being misled than the power dynamics that were at play within that space. Now, I'll have to wait for the CEO to come, because in rounding off the issues that you've raised, I need to get a response from him so that some of the concerns that we have are allayed and we can agree on process with him. So, well, let's not even break. Let's just wait for him. I would like us to round this one off, comrades. Remember, we still have the other item on issues of irregular expenditure, fruitless and wasteful expenditure. I hope, Tim, you are ready. Chauke, we're going to be discussing them purely to give you the last opportunity to convince us differently in terms of what has transpired. Otherwise, we were ready to adopt our resolution next week, and we're comfortable with what we're thinking. But you have the opportunity to make us think differently on those issues. And National Treasury, I'm sure you will be able to provide some thoughts on those issues, because I think the other time when we're here, we requested you to do some preliminary checks for us, because almost all these issues were quite contentious. And Chauke, that's why we felt, you know what, maybe let's have another round. Because remember, end of February, we couldn't. We attempted, and then we said, no, let's stop this one. We'd have another opportunity to go through them. And maybe in the meantime, Chauke, you can answer my question whether Chauke Shahumba or Chauke Yaumba. He's a man, he can't be Chauke Shahumba. Say Chauke Yaumba. If he was a woman, I would say Chauke Shahumba. All right, CEO, we waited for you because I thought I just want to try and see if I can just streamline the issues that were raised by comrades. My first point was to them, comrades, to say, you know the difficult period that we went through. And I thought we will deal with issues having that in mind. But you see, CEO, as Comrade Kuno said, I want to take it from there because that will help us, you see, especially in relation to these 2 weeks, whether it is a meaningful request or not. When you were last here, our understanding was that it was the work streams that were running with the processes. Now, I want to know whether after the Constitutional Court judgment, has there been change? Are you now in charge of the process, the day-to-day running of the process, which will then give us the confidence that if we give you 2 weeks, you are indeed going to deliver? Or do we still have issues around your responsibilities vis-a-vis those of the work streams, which impacts on the speed with which work is done? Because the court judgment was more than 2 months ago. And Hlengwa, what they were saying, they were focusing on the work, making sure that everything works according to plan. They are referring to social grants payments. That's what they were focusing on. Of course, I don't accept that because it was not a new company, it was an old company, so there was no reason to expect any technical glitches in the payments. But that's what he was referring to. So, no, it's fine. I also don't accept that. I don't. But the fundamental question is, as CEO, are you now in charge of the process of ensuring that we have, by the beginning of April next year, we have in place a company that is able to deliver social grants legally? I think, as Tim was saying, legally. Are you in charge? Have we sorted out that issue around the work streams? I think that's a fundamental question, and around which you need to be able to take us into your confidence the same way you did with the Constitutional Court. Because if there are still issues, the comrades are addressing you because you are the CEO. But if you are the CEO in name and yet in practice you are not, then it creates a problem for us, you see. Because we can't be talking to you, and yet you are not the one doing the job or driving the process. So we may need to sort that out first, get it out of the way, so that work at SASA can be done legally. That's the first part. The second part, and I found this odd. Yeah, let me use this English word, not say according to Shireman's, because it seemed to mean something else. That in the report, you're telling us that you have complied with the Constitutional Court judgment on the protection of data. But then you're not saying anything about the High Court judgment in Pretoria and how that impacts on that addendum that you have agreed to with CPS, because that judgment makes it hollow, makes it meaningless, you see, meaning that the Constitutional Court should either have been more detailed in their judgment around the protection of personal data, or the High Court judgment is just one of those sometimes crazy judgments that you get. How does it impact on that one? I thought it would have been relevant without being prompted to have actually taken us into that element, because it talks to it. And lastly, I don't know, comrades, I would suggest that maybe in the 2 weeks, CEO, the issue of the need to migrate to where SASA is fully in charge, whether it is 2 years or 3 years or 5 years, is it possible that in the 2 weeks to come, you can be able to talk to it and even cost it, so that we don't talk about migration and then we talk about rents and cents separately, as if it is just a wish. We want to do it, but we don't know how much. Because once you know how much it will cost, it means then you can even now cost the various components of that migration process. And linked to the issue of the migration and the IT, I thought it would also be important to inform members, because in the last engagement we had letters from one company that is trying to enforce a court order around SOCPEN, which has been going on for years. Now, what will be the implication of that court order in terms of your IT procurement? Is it just a frivolous? Anyway, if it's a court order, it cannot be frivolous. More so when there was commitment from as early as President Thabo Mbeki's time to have the issue resolved and not resolved. How will those impact? Whether it's possible can have all those things in the next 2 weeks. But yeah, let me give to you. See you.
Thank you so much, Chair. CFO, we wanted to say something before I talk about the work streams.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I think my comments will relate probably in terms of the process that you have alluded to, which will confine to where to in terms of how we're going to be engaging with Treasury. And I think probably I need to clarify that so that you can understand. There are 2 units in Treasury that we'll have to engage with. And one unit is the unit in terms of the Chief Procurement Officer. And the other unit, it will be the unit relating to the public finance. The workshop that we're doing with SABO is not a talk show, because it is part of the evaluation of the request for information which will conclude an element of an RFP, which is request for proposal from Post Office. And that is part of when you assess a bid. We are already actually in the procurement stage at this particular point. But for you to make an informed decision, you just need actual additional information from the service provider that you are engaging with. So we do sit with the proposal that was given to the honorable members by SAPO, which also brought in within SASA. And before we even request the chief procurement officer to say, we want to engage on build, operate, and transfer. Because if we will go with that route, and we have made a decision based on the facts that are presented, it means that you can at least map up the timelines in relation to what Post Office needs to do in terms of them actually building a system, operating a system, and transferring it. So that timelines will be linked to that. But if we're saying Post Office will be responsible for a partial operations, then we'll come back to the committee and tell you, when are we issuing an RFP for the other elements? When are we evaluating those RFP? When are we awarding those RFP? And only then we'll be able to map up the remaining activities. So the critical part of it is that when we have made a decision that the first consideration must be government-to-government relations, and we said, before we even really deal with the other things, can we really consider Post Office as a solution integrator? It means that build, operate, and transfer. So it means that Post Office must do everything. And once we have done that, it will be quite easier. And it's a procurement process that we need to deal with. Once we said Post Office is going to be built, operate, and transfer, Post Office will give us a proposal with the rands and cents. That will inform to say how it's going to cost us actually come the 1st of April going forward. And once we have received that proposal, we're going to look at two things. One, whether we have to really amend in terms of the reprioritization of the funding within SASA and see actually to really give effect if there's any shortfall in relation to that. Understanding that we do have 2.3 billion in the outer years relating to actually the money that we're paying to CPS. So it's not necessarily that we don't have money. We do have the money in the baseline of SASA in terms of the 2.3 billion with the outer years. What we'll be evaluating is the impact of what investment need to be made in this year to give actually the court judgment. And that, once we have got that plan, we'll be able to deal with it. So how does this link primarily to the report, the first report that we need to give? When we give the first report to the Constitutional Court, it will go with a plan, a decision by SASA, whether we are actually considering the Post Office build, operate, and transfer, or whether we're separating the two and say this portion is going to Post Office, this portion will go with the RFP. And from that particular point, the committee will be only monitoring the implementation of the filed report, which will have a detailed plan with the cost estimates in relation to how we're going to be dealing with it. So when we're preparing this, then the subsequent meetings, after we have filed the first report, it will be quite an easy report because they will have timelines in terms of what needs to be implemented, because that will be commitment. Once we're done with that, the CEO will have to get concurrence from the minister once we've done with the plan, because that's how we're going to do. So how the committee will find assurance between the relationship with the CEO is that once the CEO has done his work, because he's currently doing his work, he will have to present that work actually to the minister for concurrence. And once the minister concurs, then means that both the CEO and the minister actually are implementing one report and going forward. So the issue relating to the costing.
Just a minute. Yes, comrade.
No, Mr. Chair, this report was supposed to have been presented long ago, in detail. Then you wouldn't have had these members coming back in 2 weeks, listening to the CEO. Now, this exercise says there's no need for the CEO to not have reported back to Parliament and wasted the taxpayers' money, because he knows what is exactly happening, and this is what we're looking for. The details supposed to have been out, said to us in process, and he knows what he's talking about. And he's beginning to give us the costing of what is going on. And it leaves the CEO a little bit worried that he himself doesn't have the knowledge of what is going on in his own area of work. And this is where the skepticism comes from in Parliament. That why do we have a CEO when he can be able to have told us this story from the start and could have written down the story, and we should be knowing what is going on. And I don't know why, if he's finished here, what is the purpose of him coming back in 2 weeks' time? Because there's all these things that we wanted to know from the start of this meeting are just with him. He's explaining billions and he's explaining every story. And the CEO doesn't want to. Where do you leave us here? Do we have to believe him or do we have to wait for the CEO? Because he's giving us information now.
All right.
What is the status of his report now? Because that lady did the written report, it never even made sense of what she was saying to us. Now he's giving us the details. The CEO doesn't know. The only part I hear the CEO playing a role is when he just has to authorize. So we're going to wait for 2 weeks for him to authorize all these things. But that's what he's saying now. And the detail of what is being expected and when to go to court is with him.
All right. No, I hear you. No. I want him to round up the critical question for me. It's the response that the CEO is going to give us in relation to the main question. And having listened to Chauke, it of course raises the question you are asking, because this is what we want. This is what we wanted. That what are you doing? Let's get the details. Don't give us the generalized things because they don't give us a sense of process. So can you round off? For me, the critical question is what Mr. Mokwazi is going to respond in terms of who is doing what exactly. Yeah. So that's the process that is going to be followed, and like you point out, once you have filed, now it's a question of monitoring that you are meeting your timelines. Well, that's exactly what we wanted. CEO.
Honorable Boy, what he's talking about I've been aware of. It's not that I'm not aware. Hence, I was talking about the issue that we wanted to finalize everything and put it in writing and put it in perspective, then and come in and present it to the thing. We are not finalized. He's telling about things that we have not yet finalized, because part of it is going to be done, as like he said, tomorrow in the workshop with the post office. And there are other issues of the issue of the minister that we need to tell to report to the minister on, the things that we need to come and report to you first. So now we are reporting things that we have not reported to the minister. And then it becomes a little bit of a problem, because now there comes the issue of 6 billion, comes the issue of other billions and all those things, that things are not coordinated in the way that they're supposed to be coordinated. But let's leave it at that. And the issue, on the issue of the work streams.
Point of order, Mr. Mokwazi.
Yeah.
We want to leave it at that. If it was your house, you see this thing.
Yeah.
This is Parliament. I mean, we're talking to the public. And what it says is that the inconsistencies in SASA are continuous. Because we always tell you that the older people are watching TV at this hour to see what is going on with their SASA. And the inconsistencies, you are in denial of the 6 billion that was said to the public to do the transfer. And now the report that he's providing, you are also in denial of it. What must we believe as Parliament? But we are not dealing with you at a personal level. We are dealing here in terms of the responsibilities that you have.
All right. No, it's fine. Let him answer the fundamental question, because then that will give us a sense of what is happening. Can he vouch for the things that were being told here or not? For me, that is the fundamental question. Yes, sir.
I can vouch for the things that are being said here, because it's part and parcel of what we are doing as an EXCO of SASA. We are doing it on a daily basis. The thing that Chauke, the CFO, has just reported on is something that we've been discussing in meetings within ourselves. These are the things that we are going to come and present to you as the committee going forward. It's exactly like that, nothing more, nothing less. It's only that we had not reached that stage because we're overtaken by the events.
No, that's fine. Let's talk to the
on the issues. On the issues, who's responsible for what is taking place on the process, I am, and the executive of SASA, we are responsible. Hence what I've just said about what the CFO has responded on. We have called the work streams to come and report to us, because it has been my belief that the work streams are supposed to work through us, not through the minister. The Ministerial Advisory Committee is the one that was reporting to the minister, and they made recommendations to the minister. Then the minister shifted the recommendations off to SASA. And the way that it has been happening, that they have been purporting, they were reporting to the minister, is something that when I came in, I was against. And I did say it, and I did put my views onto the table. I think the rest is history, because there's an affidavit to that effect. We are in charge of what is taking place in the process. The work stream is supposed to be working with us, and I feel that they are starting to work with us, because they are telling us, we've called them to come and report to us, they have reported to us. Now, what has happened that is already been spoken about is the issue of the way that they were appointed. National Treasury has written us a letter which saying that they declare the appointment irregular. Now, I've written the letter to the minister, notifying the minister of the letter that I've received from Treasury, saying that the appointment of the work streams is irregular in terms of what the Treasury has written to us. There are things in that letter that we do not agree with, in effect, on what Treasury is saying. We are busy looking at that and to respond to Treasury. But on the issue of it have already been declared irregular, I, as a CEO, as I think Comrade Boy has said, that
there's no comrade of yours here.
Oh, no, honorable member. I'm taking what the chairperson always says, I'm confused. Honorable member Boy, as mentioned, has been that in terms of PFMA, I am the accounting officer. So Treasury has written to me as an accounting officer. I think it was my duty to write to the minister and notify the minister of the letter and my intention of what is it that I want to do going forward with the issue of the work streams. I have not written to the work streams saying that I'm terminating the contract, because there are things that we are trying to clear first with Treasury. Thereafter, after clearing that with Treasury, then I'll take a decision as a CEO of what is going to happen to the work streams. But as it is right now, they've been declared irregular. In terms of the PFMA, I'm supposed to be terminating them. I've given the tentative date of terminating them as the 31st of May, notifying the minister while we are still dealing with the issue with Treasury. So as it is right now, we have not terminated the contract, but there's a tentative date of terminating their contract, as it will be at the end of May going forward. But this process as it is happening right now, we as SASA executives are in charge of it, and we have made it a point that we have taken charge of it, and they are reporting to us. So whatever that is taking place, the reason why I'm asking for 2 weeks, and the workshop that is going to happen with the post office is done by us, not by the work streams. But the work streams, in the meantime, because we are still paying them until we declare them, terminate them, that we need to get the value for the money of the process that has been going forward. That's where the process it is as it is right now.
That's fine. Now, you see, then before Chauke spoke, after what you have said, then we'll be comfortable that in 2 weeks we'll be able to get a report from you because you are in charge. That's one. Now, maybe can you talk to what Tim had asked? I'm sure you wrote it down somewhere. You must have. I saw you writing.
I'm not too sure. I thought I was answering that one on the work streams of Tim. And secondly, I am an honorable person.
I'm sure you are, Mr. Magwaza. The questions in your new, okay, so we'll get onto this just now under regular expenditure. But the question simply was, if we go down the road now with your workshop tomorrow and we decide to appoint other people to help you build your capacity to take over in now 10 months' time, will you give us your assurance here today on the record that you personally will not allow any irregular contracts to take place? You will not do a Virginia Peterson. you will be honest and true and make sure you stick to the PFMA. That's what I want from you today, please. Open, competitive process to appoint service providers to help you.
Do I answer that one, Chair?
Yeah.
They are, within PFMA and Treasury rules, there are ways of doing things. There's an open tender, there's closed tender, and there's deviation. I will make it a point that I stick to what the rule says on the PFMA and the Treasury notes and Treasury rules.
Okay. All right. A small one. I want us to pass this one so we can. Yes, corporate.
No, it's on this treasury note or treasury that they've given you. How long will it take you to sort it out so that you can get a submission of exactly what it is that treasury is asking you not to do or to do, you see, so that you submit it to Parliament for our own sake, because we are very clear that we are going to be on your neck every day to make sure that you get these things being done properly.
Right.
We'll babysit the correctional services, we babysit everybody, we'll babysit you also, my brother.
Okay. You say there are issues you're querying from National Treasury. When are you doing that? And because you fortunately put yourself a deadline of the 31st of May. You see, that's what I like, because then it pushes you to work against a deadline. And that's what we're referring to in terms of this other contract, that once you have deadlines, it pushes you to meet your own deadline. So the issues you're supposed to raise with National Treasury, have you raised them? Are you still going to raise them so that they're able to respond to you before the 31st of May? No, he must tell us first, and then we'll go to...
We are busy with it. The good thing, as you said, Chairperson, I've said that termination will be that 31st of May, which is about 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, from now. That by that time we'll have finalized everything, then the letter will be going to them. If Treasury condones, then it means that we are not going to terminate. If Treasury insists, then we'll terminate.
Okay. I suppose that's an order, Mr. Chitangan. So before the 31st of May, they mustn't say we're delayed by National Treasury. If it's irregular, by the 31st of May, that contract must be terminated.
Chair, just to clarify, the reason why we gave them earlier is because when they submit their annual financial statements, they should have declared that as irregular expenditure, instead of giving problems to the Auditor General to qualify them because they didn't disclose it.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. No, I see. Yeah, because the 31st of May, that's the last day before they hand over their financials to the AG. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. No, I get it. All right. Comrades, can I propose, in the light of the explanations given by Chauke, that in the 2 weeks, can we get a written submission? Can we get a written submission with those details? And once they have submitted to the Constitutional Court, let's get that submission as well, and then we can then sit down and discuss the implementation and the monitoring of that entire plan. Can that be in order, comrades? All right. No, that's fine. So in 2 weeks' time, you are not coming here, but you are submitting, Ben? 2 weeks' time. Yeah. As you terminate that contract, you also send us the information that we require. Can you maybe talk to the last issue around the court judgment in Tshwane and how it impacts on the protection of personal data that the Constitutional Court has spoken to?
Thank you so much, Chair. That court judgment is a concern to us as a department. We have discussed it with the minister. We have decided that we are going to appeal it because we feel that there are certain omissions that the judge did not look into. We strongly believe that the deductions are not supposed to happen the way that they're happening. And we thought that because the Constitutional Court did put it as an order that this needs to be protected, we thought the judge, because it happened before the judgment was passed, that would have looked into that too and work the judgment around what the Constitutional Court is pronounced. But we're all surprised and we're all shocked on the judgment, so we are going to be aware. In fact, we already started with the process of appealing the judgment.
All right, can we pass this, comrades? Yes. All right, Tim, we're in your hands.
Chair, I was going to ask, we have this report. Is somebody going to present the report first, take us through it, or must I work through it? I thought it would make sense if maybe Mr. Chauke takes it through, or Mr. Magwaza takes us through it, and then. But I'm ready to go straight off.
Yeah, I don't think it's an either or. I'm not sure if. Yeah.
I just wanted to get to know from you, where is Virginia Peters, as we have been promised before we start that process? Did you find her? You can't find her? She overseas? What's going on?
You see, for the first time, you're not helping me. You said you want to help me. Now you're asking me a question. All right. No, that's fine. As we resolved last time, we instructed the Secretariat to engage the legal department and to see if we can find Ms. Peterson. By Thursday, we had not been able to locate her contacts. We even tried to solicit the assistance from SASA. And by Friday, I had said to staff, look, even if you were to find her on Friday, you probably were going to get a short notice response, which might then have said, maybe we should postpone this meeting to the date that would suit her. And yet I felt the issues that we've just finished with were a little bit more urgent. And the issues that were coming to, we are comfortable to go ahead with our resolution next week. It was more a case of giving SASA and her the opportunity to convince us otherwise in terms of our sense of what might have happened. Because with fruitless expenditure, anything declared fruitless expenditure must be pinned to an individual who must pay it back if they are still alive. If it's regular, it's a question of determining whether you require disciplinary measures against those individuals or you need to take criminal action. So, no, we did try. We could not. Tim, my sense will be maybe you should actually direct us, ask the questions that you would want to ask. And if you have not asked everything, then the CEO, Chauke, can volunteer to talk to any other issue that they feel has not been spoken to. But just to say, Chauke, we have set a date next week when we want to do our resolutions. So for us, this is an opportunity for you to maybe try and put things in the proper context and perspective that could inform us differently. Otherwise, here, we all have our individual views that we're going to push when we do our resolution in terms of not just saying we condemn irregular expenditure, but in saying we think Magwaza is responsible for this and submit it to Parliament to be adopted by the House with your name there that we think you are the one who is responsible. So I think I would want to give you to direct us on the areas that you think we may want to talk to.
Chair, thank you. Chair, we started this road in November last year with the 1.1 billion rands of irregular expenditure. And unfortunately, I don't think you were there, Mr. Magwaza, at the beginning. Yes, you were. Okay, and sorry, you've been in and out of it. We're glad to have you back. But anyway, the chair has gone to great lengths, and Honourable Boy has gone to great lengths to say, unfortunately, the wrong person is here to answer these questions. But anyway, you know how that works. You are liable. And this is the tough part in your game, hey? Politicians can be removed by the president, but you can go to jail because you're the accounting officer. It's a tough game. Anyway, let's look at page 6. You've got the major irregular expenditure items, and we can concede that the extension of physical security, the lease payments to Trifecta Delta, and the forensic investigation of SABC, you got value for money there. You got something out of it. So effectively, it was a regular expenditure. And we've been over that in November, and I don't intend to re-go over the same grounds. We know with, for instance, the lease agreements that somebody should have resigned who's still there. We know that that security was provided. We know there was a forensic audit, although it was irregular. We're going to get back to that. But I think the one that is the burning issue today and over the last week is, as you are aware, the amount of 316 million rand was paid to CPS. As you are aware, and I was aware last week Thursday, SASA have withdrawn their objection to that matter that was brought by Corruption Watch. Okay, we have those papers in front of us. So the question simply is this. Corruption Watch took you to court and said you should never have paid that 316 million rand to CPS. Can you tell us why, first of all, why SASA opposed their action, and why did you decide at this late stage last week to turn around and drop your opposition? Can you just comment on that, CEO?
Thank you so much, Honourable Chair, Honourable Members. This 316 has been a thorn in our lives. It's a very problematic transaction that has taken place. Last time when we were here, we put forward the reasons why we felt that this amount has been a legal transaction. And there were questions that came from the floor at Scopa, which prompted me to go back and really look into the things that were put in front of me and the information that was given to me. And there were things that I started seeing glaring in the reports that were written. Then I requested the legal office to go through to our legal counsel and give us an opinion of what is it that we need to do going forward as SASA. But just before we even, or when the legal officer called the council, he said to us, we've already gone through the papers, we've already written to you advising you that it may not be prudent for you to carry on defending on this issue because there are things that they are glaring that are written onto the contract and written onto these issues of this transaction. And based on that legal advice, then I, consulting with the legal office, I wrote to the minister advising her that we are withdrawing the opposition of this thing will abide by anything that the court comes up as a verdict onto this, and will take action at the time that we receive that. That's how it has happened.
The committee there on the SASA matter. But right now, President Jacob Zuma is addressing the tourism indaba in Durban. Let's go there live. There you have it, the president at the Indaba. We'll see as soon as the president starts that conversation, we'll cross there live. Now, as you know, he's at the Tourism Indaba in Durban. It's a big one. Everybody's looking forward to the Tourism Indaba in Durban. And let's see if we can establish that link now. Let's go back there live.
We now have the pleasure in inviting to this podium the Program Director, Mr. Cesar John, the Chief Executive Officer of SA Tourism.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the official opening of Indaba 2017. And also to Durban, our host city. Please welcome the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, Mr. Thembinkosi Willis Nkunu, onto the stage.
Thank you very much, Master of Ceremonies. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of South Africa, President J.G. Zuma, Minister of Tourism, Ms. Pasa, Deputy Minister of Tourism, Ms. Tabete, MEC, Sihlezi Galala, who is MEC for Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs, our Mayor of eThekwini Municipality, Councillor Zandile Gumede, and South African Tourism CEO, Mr. S. John, all members of the media, guests, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to extend a warm welcome to all officials and delegates from different parts of our country and the globe. On behalf of the KwaZulu-Natal provincial government, we would like to express our appreciation to the President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency, Mr. J.G. Zuma, and the entire cabinet for a decision they have always taken to support us in hosting this very important tourism indaba over all the past years. Equally, we express our appreciation to the South African tourism team led by the CEO and all other stakeholders involved in the coordination of this event. I'm sure that all of you will appreciate the fact that the art of marketing is rapidly becoming complex with the advent of information technology, allowing broader reach of potential tourists across the world through internet, emails, and satellite broadcast. While acknowledging the significance of the information highway in the growth of tourism, some conventional marketing instruments, such as exhibitions, are still relevant today more than ever before. The concept of expo, exhibitions, and trade fairs will continue to be an integral part of the provincial government marketing strategy. These are most interactive platforms of communicating to the target audience and to consumers of our tourism products. Importantly, this personal and human interaction helps reduce the levels of doubt about each other's tourism packages, confirming the old adage of, quote, seeing is believing, close quote. As a provincial government, we will continue to work with the national government and industry stakeholders in order to grow the tourism industry. In KwaZulu-Natal, for instance, our contribution to the GDP is standing around 30 billion rand, about 10% of the provincial economy. The province currently attracts about 1.3 million foreign visitors and 13.9 million domestic tourism trips on an annual basis. Thousands of local and international visitors flock to the city of Durban each year, as it is known for its warm climate and exciting beaches. Along the KwaZulu-Natal coast, visitors find breathtaking beaches and secluded bays to enjoy the summer sun or escape the noise of the city. Host to some of the bigger surfing champions, KwaZulu-Natal is a hub for water sports and a variety of thrilling activities such as Amashova, the cycle race, but also the Comrades Marathon as well as the Nelson Mandela Marathon. We wish to pause here and invite you to take part in the Nelson Mandela Marathon, which is scheduled to take place on the 27th of August this year. Entries for this year's race are open and will close at midnight on the 31st of July. We're expecting 15,000 to take part in the national main prize. The main prize for the main race, which is 42 kilometers, will be 100,000 rands. 20,000 rand for the 21 kilometer race and 10,000 rand for the 10 kilometer race. Therefore, that is as much as is available for grabs. The Mandela Marathon is not only about running, but it is aimed at mobilizing society to preserve the legacy of Tata Mandela. We invite you to be part of that preservation. After attaining democracy, President Mandela used sports to unite our people. Tata Madiba healed our wounds and established the Rainbow Nation very firmly. He set us on the path of nation building and prosperity, and made us a respected member of the world community of nations, taught us that all South Africans have equal claim to this country and that there can be no lasting peace unless all of us, black and white, learn to live together in harmony and in peace. As government, we invite the people of this country and the world to support the Mandela Marathon. The race we started the Manai Hall in Indian and the Mandela Capture Site, where he spent his last days of freedom. Ladies and gentlemen, we are cognizant of the emerging global marketing opportunities offered by hosting the tourism industry, and as such, we are ready to host a memorable gathering. We have also undertaken various activities to ensure that your stay in this province becomes a pleasant one. The kingdom of the Zulu is not to be seen, you have to feel it. It boasts 2 World Heritage Sites, game parks, and vast land with breathtaking landscape. Beautiful weather and the abundance of fauna and flora is what attracts domestic and international tourists. The trip to the northern parts of the province will give delegates the unique opportunity to climb the valleys and hills overlooking many rivers that run ceaselessly day and night. Utugela and Fulozi rivers have nurtured the nation and continue to be a source of inspiration for our Rainbow Nation. By and large, we have undertaken various projects to ensure that we position this province as a tourism and economic designation of choice, always ready to host sports lovers, business tourists, and all other categories of visitors. On behalf of the KwaZulu-Natal government, whose many MECs are present here today, as well as managers, we do encourage all our friends, all of you colleagues, all of you business partners, come and explore KwaZulu-Natal in the future, and you are welcome to this province. Thank you.
Thank you, Premier, for the warm welcome. It is much appreciated, sir. It now gives me great pleasure to welcome on stage our esteemed, very esteemed Minister of Tourism, Ms. Thokozile Xasa, to address us and introduce the President.
Thank you very much, Sister, CEO of South African Tourism, and the board, His Excellency, the President of the Republic of South Africa, President J.G. Zuma, First Lady, Madam Thobeka Madiba Zuma, Premier Matingwa, Premier Mkhulu, ministers that are here coming from South Africa and all over Africa, deputy ministers led by my deputy minister, Tabete, and all deputy ministers that are here, MECs led by MEC Sishe Zikalala, who is a co-host with the National Department of Tourism and the City of eThekwini, Executive Mayor, who is here with us, all our guests that are here today. I am not going to address you you have the best and the highest address that you're going to get from our president. We are very fortunate in South Africa because President Jacob Zuma is taking lead in the whole continent to ensure that we can turn around our economies through tourism. South Africa is the envy of the entire world. We are often asked to share best experiences of the successes that we have as tourism because it is government-led, driven by the industry with community participation. Mr. President, as we are about to open this Indaba today, which is a Pan-African platform for showcasing what Africa offers, it is so significant that you take precious time to really demonstrate to the people who make it happen that today we are able to say tourism is contributing about 9% into the GDP, and as we stand, we continue to have to sustain about 700,000 jobs, direct jobs in the industry. This is the audience, Mr. President. Some are coming to sell our country, some are coming to buy our products, some are our partners to ensure that we have strategies that really would give the oomph into the tourism sector and across the other sectors, and we can turn around the economy of South Africa. Mr. President, they are listening to you. May I therefore invite the Honorable President, His Excellency Jacob Gedeshekisa Namalala Zuma, to speak to us.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Director of the Program. Minister Toko Plaza and other South African and visiting ministers present here, as well as many who are here because they are part of tourism family. Deputy ministers who are here, the former ministers, deputy ministers, the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, Baba Matungwa, and provincial MECs present here, and other MECs from other provinces who are here. Executive Mayor of eThekwini Municipality, Mnguni, and other mayors who are with us here. Members of Parliament and members of the provincial legislatures. Indaba exhibitors, local and international buyers, tourism industry leaders present. Good morning to you all. On behalf of the people of South Africa and our country's tourism sector, it is a great pleasure and privilege to welcome you all to South Africa's Travel Indaba 2017. It is a wonderful way to celebrate Africa Month by hosting you as we showcase the beauty of our country and of our African continent. We welcome you with open arms to the vibrant city of Durban, to the spectacular scenery and warm beaches of KwaZulu-Natal, and to the cultural melting pot of South Africa. Earlier this month, we hosted heads of state and government and global captains of industry and commerce in this same vein for the World Economic Forum on Africa, which was another wonderful marketing opportunity for the African continent. This week, we bring Africa and the world together in this homegrown trade show where Africa markets herself to the world. We are truly pleased to have our 21st sister African countries exhibiting at this year's Travel Indaba. Let me extend a special welcome, especially to those of you who are attending the Indaba for the first time. You will find that we are a wonderful and a robust nation of diverse cultures and traditions. We are called a world in one country with good reason. To those who have visited our country before, you will know that you can expect a warm and friendly welcome from the South African people. Those who have come to South Africa before will always want to come to South Africa because of its warmth and user-friendly welcoming. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you at a time when tourism is riding the crest of the wave. In South Africa, on the African continent, and throughout the world, tourism continues to reform and perform strongly, and the forecast for the future is also positive. South Africa experienced a 13% increase in international visitors to Africa. We are happy with this growth because tourism has a substantial potential of changing people's lives for the better, especially during these depressed economic times globally. In addition to job creation, tourism is for entrepreneurship. Given the low barriers to entry, it makes it possible for new entrants, particularly women and youth, to get into business. The global trends are also encouraging. According to the United Nations World Tourism Organization, tourism around the world recorded its 17th straight year of sustained growth since the global financial crisis. More than 1 billion people now travel around the world every year, and world international tourist arrivals grew by 4% on average. Africa enjoyed an 8% increase in international tourist arrivals to reach 58 million arrivals. This means that Africa is growing at twice the rate of the global average. It is indeed most encouraging that more and more world travelers are discovering our continent. It means they see its value as an exceptional destination for holidays and business events. However, these arrivals to the continent represent only 5% of the 1 billion global tourists. This indicates the immense potential for further growth in the continent's tourism sector. Working together as Africans with our global partners, we can open our beautiful continent to further growth in tourism. We are determined to move Africa forward in this business of tourism. Importantly, distinguished partners and participants, in this era of the fourth industrial revolution, which may threaten traditional jobs, tourism's labor absorption and absorption capacity remains a greater weapon against unemployment. It therefore serves us well to look at tourism as a diversification opportunity for the continent's economy because traditional sectors are experiencing challenges. While we pursue the increase in global Africa inbound travel market share, we also encourage and promote travel within Africa. Africans must explore their continent as well. I'm encouraged to hear that a young South African woman will be embarking on her second journey across the continent. She is here with us today. We wish Ms. Kachi Zama a memorable journey across our beloved continent. Ladies and gentlemen, in South Africa we believe that tourism is everybody's business. Growing the industry is also everybody's business. This approach, we are campaign, we do tourism. It challenges every South African to play his or her part and contribute to tourism. We do tourism. That is our key message to our people. Indeed, tourism activities extend into every corner of our country, into cities and rural areas, into townships, into our mountains, our forests, and our coastline. With this campaign, people will appreciate the immense value of tourism in their lives. The total contribution of tourism to our economy in 2015 was about 375 billion rand. Tourism now supports over 1.5 million jobs in total. And we want tourism to support over 2.2 million jobs by 2026. We are working hard to achieve further growth. Our aim is to make South Africa one of the top 20 tourism destinations in the world. In this regard, South Africa will be aggressively promoting our new 5-in-5 tourism growth strategy. Simply put, we want to attract 5 million more international arrivals and domestic tourists within the next 5 years. To achieve these goals, we are strengthening existing markets while also developing and investing into new international source markets such as the Middle East and Asia. Transformation will be another source of growth. Black entrepreneurs will be targeted to be in growing these new markets in Asia. Programs by SA Tourism, including international trade shows and expos, as part of our country's radical economic transformation program. The radical economic transformation program seeks to correct the painful history of our country, where the black majority was excluded from meaningful participation, ownership, and control of the economy. For the tourism industry, we are looking to achieve at least a 30% black ownership of the tourism industry currently. We have already begun to invest in transformation. At this year's Indaba, we have 90 black-owned tourism businesses from all 9 provinces in South Africa, offering African tourism products, services, and experiences. We will be developing local tourism offerings further in areas such as township tourism, rural tourism, agri-tourism, and homestays, which will offer tourists a diverse South African experience. South Africa is also looking to increase the contribution of marine and coastal tourism as part of growing our oceans economy through Operation Pakisa, also opening up opportunities for new entrants. This a long-term project for South African tourism. We are starting a journey towards building more sustainable and profitable businesses and opportunities, and of expanding the new entrants into medium and large size enterprises. We thank the tourism industry for being part of this journey of changing South Africa for the better, correcting the legacy of apartheid past. Distinguished participants, we are ready to work in partnership with our sister countries on the continent and with our partners in the tourism industry to make Africa a destination of choice for the world. We will grow African tourism together and promote our beautiful continent as we are doing this week at this Indaba. Already a lot is being done by regional economic blocs in the continent to promote regional integration, which has positive spin-offs for the economy, including tourism. At the African Union level, Africa is investing in infrastructure development projects that will help us to promote economic development, including tourism development. Africa, realizing its potential, has taken very serious decisions to connect all the countries, to soften the entry in the borders, to have the infrastructure at all sectors, so that tourists and business people who come to Africa must find Africa being user-friendly, and they must do business with us. One of the key goals is to work towards a seamless travel experience across the continent. I have the privilege of chairing the African Union's Presidential Infrastructure Coordinating Initiative as part of the new Partnership for Africa's Development, NAPAD. One of our key projects is to develop road and rail connectivity within the continent to make it easier to travel around Africa. Not just usual travel. We are planning to have the fastest train that will touch all the cities, the main cities, capital cities of the continent. We want Africa to be special. We want those who come to Africa feel like not going back, because Africa will be offering everything you need. We also need more aviation connectivity so that ultimately one does not need to fly to Europe first before reaching a North African destination from South Africa. Indeed, tourism is a new currency that ignites and unites our continent. We are looking forward to exciting times ahead for this industry in our continent. Africa has long been regarded as the world's Eden. The time has come to bring the world home to the cradle of mankind, Africa. Distinguished